are you drinking with that?
Oh.
Wine?
You did
Exactly.
Oh, you
The
will.
regulars in,
That's good.
yes.
Sure.
You know, but that's what we already had.
This is okay.
Right, that's jinx.
Is it getting along? Are we?
Well, they're starting.
Yeah, it's just-
Okay, okay.
Because the last couple of
And
nights,
it's-
they were
And
kept
it's just
separate with
emotional
just
draining.
little
I know. For everybody.
interactions
Everybody's
and
loves it.
Nugget
Yeah,
Marie
really.
his. She's so adorable.
Which thank
Cuties.
Okay, so did you find the?
Recording in progress.
Straight to the agenda, sorry.
I like it
Getting to
like
do
that.
that. Oh, look who just walked in the door.
Hi,
Clinton.
fancy nails too.
You can't see the clock too long.
So get the whole space.
It is 5:29. That one says 5:32. It's fast.
I'll let you log in.
Hello, how you doing?
That's true.
I'm doing well.
Okay.
I thought about you in the Tri Cities this weekend. I was over there visiting family. It was so much fun.
Was it fun?
Oh, it was amazing. I needed some laughter.
I know, she's
We
so
laughed so
sweet.
much.
And she just purrs up. Oh, they said that last year.
When I get together with my
I didn't
family,
know
it's
she had
just
her until I got
crazy.
there.
You know how it is when you get together with your family. It's just craziness.
She just
Making them biscuits, girl.
yeah, she is making me biscuits.
Oh, this is 5:30.
Good evening. I will now call the Auburn Study Session meeting for Monday, January 27th, 2025 to order. Tonight's study session will be held both in person and virtually. Rebecca, you can please call roll.
Deputy Mayor Rakes,
Here.
Councilmember Amer,
Here,
Councilmember Baldwin, Councilmember Baldwin, Councilmember Brown,
Excused.
Councilmember Clinton Taylor,
Here.
Councilmember Tracy Taylor,
Here.
Councilmember Trout Manuel.
here.
Rebecca, do we have any agenda modifications this evening?
No, Chair, we do not.
We have no announcements or reports on tonight's agenda. I will now turn the meeting over to Councilmember Tracy Taylor, Chair of the Public Works and Community Development Special Focus Area, to chair this portion of the meeting.
I think this is one of my favorite, thank you, Deputy Mayor. This is one of my favorite study sessions tonight because it's all from our economic and community development teams. So I'm very excited to hear from them. So first off, we will call Jen Francis and Emerson Folker to the table to give their fourth quarter update.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I am Emerson Folker, Economic Development Coordinator, and this is Jen Francis, Economic Development Manager. We'll be giving you our Q4 update. And then following us, we'll have Christina Dreesen from Dreesen, thank you, from the DAC, and Casey Bray from the Auburn Area Chamber to give their updates. So for our Q4 time spent, compared to Q3, you'll see we have a little bit more contract management. As the year came to an end, we were working with our team members to rewrite and change and update the contracts going into 2025. Little fewer events going into the winter season, and with that extra time, we spent a good portion on business recruitment, and as of always, a good portion on business retention as well. In regards to business recruitment, about 83 business owners were contacted, mainly out of the alcohol establishments and restaurant establishments, as well as a little bit of entertainment and retail that weren't outlined in here. All in all, about 90 to 95 businesses were contacted for that recruitment effort. And our Q4 business visits, on the left you'll see Q1 through Q4, just to kind of give you a quick snapshot and see how the trajectory went throughout the year. One of my goals that Jen and I wanted to focus on were introducing myself to all of the downtown businesses, all in all about 220 within my first 12 months here. I'm happy to say that we got that done 4 months early, 2 weeks before Christmas, so that's why you'll see the huge uptick in Q3 and then a little bit of a downtick in Q4. So all in all, Q4, 60% were those meet and greet meetings where we were just going out, shaking hands, making introductions. 21% of that would be the recruitment meetings. From the previous slide, the recruitment efforts. I want to say about 20% would come back to us, reach out to us and set up a meeting. 10% would be in-person meeting downtown and a little bit of follow through there. And then lastly, unique meetings. Anything that wasn't the introductions or recruitment. So a meeting with a purpose, whether it be they called us, we called them, we had a specific purpose to go out and visit them. That kind of encompasses the unique meetings. One as such are the continuation of the Small Business Spotlight series. We started these in Q3 in partnership with our media team. In Q4, we went to about 5 or 6 businesses, including Mando's, who moved down from the far end of Main Street down closer to the core right here next to the Annex building. Beautiful new shop if you haven't been yet. Nectar up in Lakeland Hills, the brand new Happy Crab. Blackfish Distilleries, Gisanko's, and the Marble Deli. And if you do follow the social media of Auburn, you'll see how successful these are, garnishing tens of thousands of views. And we've gotten great reports from the businesses on the success from the weeks and months after those initial postings. And as always, we were there for about 2 hours capturing video, photos, to where it's not just this 20 to 90 second video. We'll have that media for the years to come. As the business grows, we'll be able to spotlight them again in simple posts and always engaging our audiences that way. And some new leases. There was an escape room, Time Pass Escape Rooms. It's down on the far end of the Main Street by SeaX and Zola's on that medical complex. It took over the space that was the Go Brew location. They are doing their soft opening right now, where it's a invite only. Essentially, the owner's sending out emails to do appointments. I didn't take a picture because when we did do our walkthrough, I want to leave the mystery up to you guys when you go and visit. But the owner, Eric, has got a great imagination, great craftsman, and it's pretty exciting in there. So when it does open, I'm sure you guys will all be excited to go see. Tranquility Ink Tattoo, young business owner right on Main Street, excited for his business to grow. He's got a couple of apprentices underneath him to where they'll be growing. And of course, the Happy Crab. Delicious food if you haven't been. She spent 2 years learning how to pull those noodles. So it's like hand pulled every morning, fresh, so it's delicious stuff. So a little snapshot, 260 local businesses visited, 170 businesses contacted for recruitment. So all in all, just under 450 businesses for outreach and meet and greets for 2024. And the DAC is going to go over, their snapshot, but I just wanted to touch base on their downtown mix and mingles for Q4. They had a great pub crawl for Halloween, and then their holiday party was great, where they supported local businesses and had their doors open for residents to come and learn about what the DAC does and ask any questions they may have.
Thanks, Emerson. For the record, this is Jen Francis, Economic Development Manager. Next up, we are going to talk about the Business Connect events. So we continued through all of the year 2024. This is Q4, so you'll see Wheels and Wrenches. We're in October. We enjoyed going over to Mando's Disc Golf in November. We had a lot of fun in the outdoor area, being able to throw the disc golf. May or may not have hit the building several times, and cars also may have been. Anyways, so in December, we went out to Dave & Buster for our holiday party. We had council members join us and had a great time. So that was wonderful. So now we're ready to kind of show off our new precious baby. And that is our new website for Auburn Economic Development. You'll find it at ecdev.auburnwa.gov. And it's still in its soft launch, so it is live, and we're taking lots of feedback, so we're really encouraged to be able to share it with you kind of in a small scope as we start to grow larger. So you'll see the first thing that you get to is kind of our your future starts here with us is what we've got for economic development. You scroll down and you're going to see many tabs here: downtown opportunities, why Auburn, sites and buildings, and then business support. And this just tells you a little bit about where Auburn's located and how people can find us. And the goal is to have some of those possible new businesses come to this landing page and get some of their questions answered, but then to be able to call Emerson and I. So it's just kind of a launching pad for us. Down below, you're going to see some of the information that the Golden Shovel team has gathered, 26% lower costs than Seattle, about $10 per square foot less than Seattle. You keep scrolling down, you'll see our featured news article. So this is updated by Golden Shovel. It takes, whatever the most prominent news article of economic development is today. And then the featured event, and right now we're showcasing the state of the city as our featured event. Scrolling down, you're going to see downtown opportunities for retail spaces, national brands, office space, bar and restaurant. And then this is kind of one of my favorite locations on the website right now, which is the featured real estate. And this will show you the Divine Court, the Verge, and Trek. And if you click on here, you're going to get something that's called the one sheet. But for Divine Court and the other ones, you're going to see more than one sheet. It's going to tell you about the square footages that are available, a little bit about the property, where it's located, what it's surrounded by. This one, Divine Court, has a little bit about the potential of that new theater and what that's going to look like and what that plaza area looks like. So it gives you that opportunity to have a glance at what that one specific location is, what Divine Court looks like. The same will happen for Verge and Trek retail spaces, and you'll be able to see information on each one of those spaces. This isn't the only place where you're going to be able to locate business or locations that are available for rent, but this is one of the first ones you'll see. Then you scroll down and you're gonna have the 5 reasons to move to Auburn. It's gonna talk about different reasons why Auburn. It will come up over and over again. It's creative, Auburn's entertaining, it's affordable, it's inclusive, and it's convenient. Then we go up here and click on our sites and buildings. On here, you're going to see a little bit about what it looks like to open a business in Auburn. You get this lovely ribbon cutting, some of the information that we have about Auburn, about its access points, that we're growing, why you should choose Auburn. And then you're going to click here and it says sites and buildings. Please don't do that to me. This is going to show you all of the wonderful spaces of what you can rent in Auburn. Thank you, Councilmember Baldwin. There is one more area where we can sometimes find this information, and it is under sites and buildings here. Please. No, it's just not gonna work today. Okay, so as we said, yes, it is a soft launch. There is information about multiple retail spaces that are in Auburn. Industrial, retail, warehousing, manufacturing. And then here is where we kind of spotlight the business support. What we have as far as incentives, the great thing that we have about our fast tracking for our permit center, how quick we are about turnaround times for getting those business licenses, but also for getting the tenant improvements. A couple of things about our tax exemptions and fee deferrals, what it is to be part of the DSC, and then also our workforce business and business support. So that's just a little bit about what we have for our website. We are actively looking for feedback. So when you have this opportunity for us, it's not been a big broadcast that it's gone live, but it is something that we're looking for folks to be able to give back. We did ask several people to contribute to this, that were all part of the design portion of creating the information that was part of this. And so that's kind of our wrap up for, yes, please. For the soft launch of this. So maybe this would be a good time to break for questions about economic development, and then we'll have the presentation for DAC and for the chamber as well.
Jen, I'm gonna call, I have several questions, but I'm gonna call on the other council members first. And so Councilmember Baldwin.
Yeah, so one of the things I was curious about for the tenants that are currently, for the property owners that are currently seeking business tenants, are they going to have any type of QR code that they could post in their window that could take them to our site so they could get to that detailed information?
Not at this time. We have some information about Explore Auburn, and so you can go to each one of the businesses, but that's a great idea. That's something that we can look at and see. I love that. Yeah, so maybe we can,
Explore.
yes, explore that.
Fantastic. Okay, Jen, I'm coming locked and loaded here.
Okay.
Let's talk about the cadence on social for your small business that you showcase. For instance, Happy Crab, you've done Gasenko's, you've done a couple of others. How are these businesses chosen? And then what is the cadence that we can look forward to on our socials in 2025?
We have been gifted with having Angie from the multimedia department assist us through this. It has not been driven by economic development as far as developing and filming and that type of thing. So we were kind of grateful that Jonathan was able to share our resource as Angie. Angie's not a permanent employee for the city. So that tells us, I don't really know what it's going to look like for 2025 as we roll out the rest of them that have already been pre-canned. So there's some that have already had the videos taken of them. Angie's working very hard to be able to prepare those to release those. It's not been a prepared spacing out of them. It's been as her availability is to kind of cut those and be able to get them approved by the communications division before they're rolled out. We, as economic development, would like to have more of those. Mm-hmm. It was a little difficult to get folks interested in having our team come in and create video. So we took folks that were actually willing to be able to allow us into their businesses and see behind the scenes. We've contacted small businesses that we've had past relationships with that we've been willing to say, are you okay with us coming and filming and putting this in there? There is some footage of at least one business that asked us not to show the video. So we've had folks that we spent hours at showcasing their business, and then they said, we'd like to not show that information on the internet. So we had to pull that one. But I think that we would anticipate being able to continue this, and whether we have to find a new teammate within communications, that's something that we're going to work on because we see the value in it.
Mm-hmm. Given the metrics and the reach that you've received on each one of those, I would hope that you guys would consider at least exploring this further, because it's not only done a boost to our downtown, but it's also done a boost to our social media and as a city. So I'd like to see that growth continue. Any other questions, council members? Okay, I'm gonna ask more then. So then with our Q4 meet and greet visits, what trends did you find that emerged from those? And then what are you taking from those visits moving into 2025 in this first and second quarter?
So I'm pretty ecstatic that Emerson was able to go and meet every single business that's in the downtown area. It was phenomenal. It's a heavy lift to be able to go and make contact with each one of those businesses, and he was able to complete it within his first 6 months, honestly. What we want to grasp from those is that first initial reaction is introducing him to those downtown businesses, and then being able to say, you have somebody that you can reach out to in economic development to be able to answer questions or come in and just feel like you have a connection at Auburn. And then we continue to do things such as recruitment. And so those recruitments is seeing what that niche is that we're missing and knowing that we're recruiting out in those meet and greets as well. But the other thing that we really want to do is, we do have connections in the downtown, but that needs to grow. Mm-hmm. It needs to be outside of the BIA area, outside of the DUC area, and focus on other locations as well. It's a significant checkbox we can put that we got all of those folks, but we need to also do that same type of investment of our time into the entire city.
And speaking of investment, any other council member, any other questions?
Not at this time.
Okay. Okay, so then since I've got one more, Jen, then I'll let you off the hook. So we've seen several downtown Auburn cooperative events hosted, but there's like limited data on the impact of those. So how are we measuring the success of the downtown Auburn cooperative along with the city and some of the events that we hold as a partnership?
You know, Councilmember Taylor, I think that the measurement of success and failure some of it needs to be in the eyes of what the DAC is doing. And so they measure it and say, and there's a whole committee of them that decide whether or not this is an event that they want to do again in the future. And so we learned really hard. The first time we did National Night Out, we maybe had 25 people there. It's the first time. The second time, we doubled. We had 50 people there. The third time, we had over 300 people. So having an event go and then measuring success on the first round of it, it's very hard to do. It's very hard to say whether something was successful the first time based on attendance or based on, you know, that type of criteria. Because if you have a team that's invested in it to grow it, then that may still make it a very successful event.
All right. Any other questions, council members?
I had one.
Councilmember Trout Manuel.
Jen, this is really nice to receive, and congratulations for getting your everything done within 6 months of you being in. Coming back to what you have presented in the past, we've asked about numbers of the events that you have and how are you rating or how are we finding out how many people are staying in our local hotels? That's something that I'm really interested in so that we can move on having more events if it's actually bringing more money into our city and showing in the hotels in our city. So I'm still interested in getting those numbers.
We are interested in them as well. And so we've reached out to a company that does star reports. And then we've reached out to the individual hotels as well. We know that this is critical information as we move forward and invest into Explore Auburn and those events that the LTAC is going to be investing in as well. So we went back and reached out to all of our hotels, specifically about NHRA. Were the hotels full? We hear that they're full, but we contacted every one of those hotels that's inside the city limits. And we can tell you that for NHRA, all of those hotels were at full capacity. For the Parrot Expo, I would say 50% of those hotels were at full capacity. The other one were at about 78%. For the Veterans Day Parade, the hotels were about 35 to 40% full based on that. Some of those numbers are going to be skewed because at the same time of some of these other events, such as the Parrot Expo, there's also a huge volleyball tournament happening, or there's also a huge basketball tournament happening. So we're not able to say these people were in these hotels only because of the Parrot Expo, or these hotels were full during the weekend of the hotel because of the Parrot Expo. But we heard you. We know it's important for you to be able to have that information and for us to get it back to you and say, we've reached out to these folks and we spoke to an individual at each one of these hotels and asked, what was your percentage rate of capacity or how many rooms were full? And we have that data.
And there's no way of us asking to kind of say if they're in here for volleyball tournaments or whatever they're here in our city.
It's really not, unless you had something that was specific, like a click-through rate specifically for the Pacific Raceways, and then they booked their hotel from that opportunity. So many people will go to Pacific Raceways, click through to that hotel, and then not book it that time, but know the hotel, the name of the hotel. When I shop for things, I'm like, I click through it a couple times, but I'm like, okay, I know I wanted to go back to now stay at this hotel, and I'll go back and do that. So yes, you'll see, we'll get some of that information from click-through, but we don't know, we can't individually ask each person, did you stay because of this event? We can know for a good majority for that NHRA, they're booked far enough advanced, and that's when the release of the dates of the races are happening, and so there's gotta be some connection there.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Taylor.
Thank you. I just want to say kudos to Emerson because my business was one that was visited by Emerson, and I really appreciated the fact that he came in and although we're a nonprofit, still we're a business, but the process and the follow-up, and then he brought Jen back the next time with him, and then I had him there for about 2 hours, and we was brainstorming, and I was throwing out my big wish list of all this stuff we'd like to do in the area, and she was like, "Well, Clinton, now," but the process, though, I really appreciate the fact that there was timely follow-up, and that he revisited the conversation, and so although we weren't able to land on anything solid, just the fact that knowing they were out there in the community making those connections and trying to bridge those gaps. So kudos to you, because that's a lot of work in 6 months to do, and I used to see him just up and down the sidewalk out there. So again, thank you for your efforts, and I'm sure at some point the fruits of those labor are going to pay off.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will take a note on that. Thank you. And Jen and I give that same treatment to every business we go to, and those who have questions for us or just have an idea about their business, those businesses are already growing into our community. Those are the businesses that you see on the business spotlights. When I go and introduce myself, when Jen says hello, and they start asking questions for us that we can help with, those relationships grow and develop, and those are typically the ones that invite us back in with cameras and allow us to interview them. So thank you.
Councilmember Baldwin.
Yeah, just sort of two questions, I guess, if you're fine. The first one is when, not so much during the visits for existing businesses, but when you're going through in your recruitment, are you, capturing any feedback coming out of those sessions as far as wish lists or nice to have, or things that when you're talking to those potential businesses, are you hearing things from them that they're looking for as far as access, amenities, policies, anything that would be feedback that we could receive, from the city's perspective to say, oh, okay, these are the trends that we're hearing in the business community as needs that they would be looking for from a partnership from the city.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. That is a great question. We get feedback about location, having a good fit, being ready to invest and having that capital, knowing that capital is limited, just being able to utilize that in the best place. We have shown Divine Court, if I said 24 times, that would not be a stretch of the imagination. And the feedback is it's just got to be the right person in the right moment. And it's got to be somebody that's ready to make the move or ready to add a second location. And that's what we're doing. When we go out and do our market research visits that we do, we're trying to get them to open an additional location. And when we reach out to those businesses, it's not their first location, so it's going to be their second, third, fifth location that we're trying to get them to invest in. Right now, we're just kind of gathering some of that information, but it seems to be timing is the issue and making sure that they have enough available capital.
Yeah, I was going to say we're still not terribly far out from the pandemic, so I'm sure that's been a factor for many businesses. And then the second question I had, if Chair's good with it, for working with the events that we do have, I think as council and I know my professional life, I'm often going to different conferences or different events that take me to other places and around the country. And so kind of like the nice goodie bags that we got, thank you, at our seats today, when I have gone to events like that, sometimes there are either like a little bag or the website for the event will have links to, codes or, specials that regional businesses are doing as promotions in concert kind of with that community, right? Like, oh, for NLC, we go to Tampa and, oh, hey, make sure that you do these things while you're here in town. Are we creating any distributable materials, kind of working with our businesses and those events to make sure that those inserts are either getting handed out as part of the event or left at the hotels to distribute to people checking in? Or how do we help connect, the restaurants and the other amenities that we have with people who are here for, the races and the different activities?
Thank you for that question. I'm going to let Casey answer some of it when she goes through her presentation. She's going to have some information specifically about the hotels. Emerson and I are working on another avenue of kind of creating opportunities for those folks that are visiting or at Fieldhouse USA. But we just kind of are wrapping up a rebranding. So Golden Shovel did our website, but the rebranding portion of it is kind of where we're at now. So once we kind of get all of that done, we have handouts that we've created that we're using for recruitment, and we're handing those out to folks. But it'll be the creation of our QR code, the distribution of that information. But it's we don't want to do it too early. We want it to be right when it's ready to go. We don't want to put something out that's halfway complete or just almost there, but not quite. We want it to be great when we hand it out. We want it to be great when someone lands on our page. We want them to be like, that's it.
Council, any more questions? Councilmember Emmer.
And just when I check the website, I'm taking my comment back. We were talking about it. It's amazing to see it in bigger screen rather than the phone.
Oh,
So I love it. So thank you for the website. And thank you for all the work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jen, Emerson, you guys have hustled hard last year, and it's hard when you're a two-person team. I know that you've got the support of Director Crum and everybody else, but you guys are doing an amazing job. So continue to do what you're doing, and we're excited for 2025.
Thank you.
Thank you. We are so excited to have our partners here today. First up,
Who are we going to first?
we'll go with Christina first.
Okay.
All right, so are you
And
going to
I'll
click?
pull it up and then I can either give it to you to click or I can look at for your cues.
Why don't you, I'll click.
Yeah, perfect.
Give me
There you are.
hand. Okay, so
And
just,
can you see the screen from here? You should be able to click at
yes,
any
and I
time.
have a copy.
Perfect.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone, Mayor, councilpersons, city officials. I'm Christina Dreesen. I've been a business owner for about 25 years in Auburn, and I've been on the DAC board for probably 8 or 9, almost 10. I'm the outgoing president. We do have a new board that was just elected early January, and I'll be telling you about them later in the presentation. But we're very excited about the new talent that we're bringing on and their enthusiasm. So the first slide is just basically to show everyone that our hashtags, when we're posting on social media, we have Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Reels. We're using Destination Auburn, Explore Downtown Auburn, Buy Local, and Shop Local. And we didn't always in the past have data as far as who our followers were, how many clicks, but we have been gathering that. Last year we did 35 different events, and we have posts on the website for that. We had over 6,000 viewers to our website, and we had a little over 7,200 views on our Facebook, and we now have 3,100 followers, which to some might seem like a little and some might seem like a lot. A year and a half ago we had 1,500. So we were able to double our footprint and size and how we're getting information out to everyone. Okay. And I just wanted to take a moment to explain to everyone what the Downtown Cooperative is. We are a nonprofit. We're a 501c3. It used to be the Auburn Downtown Association. That was established in 1988. In 2020, we did a rebrand, and we became the Downtown Auburn Cooperative. We are governed by bylaws. We did just have the bylaws redone. We went to an outside attorney, because I thought it was a conflict for me to do that. So we went to an outside attorney who drafted them in a way that I believe, if anybody ever feels there's conflicts of interest with Mrs. Rakes, not knowing whether she was going to be on council or not, I had them specifically drafted so that we took away her voting power, and she's simply not simply, but she's our executive director. She's an employee, so she works at our desire and at our discretion. We do have about 239 businesses within the BIA area. that's our demographics. That's who we serve. If you're within the BIA, whether you're a business owner, a property owner, or a resident, that's who we serve. We do have outside memberships as well. I will just back up. If you're within the BIA, it's free. It's free to you to provide them with advertising, coming to our events, newsletters, etc. If you're outside of the BIA, we do charge a $100 fee. And we have several outside businesses that are in. And you'll see when we get to the board section, our board members, several of them are from outside of the BIA area that have wanted to join. All right. The purpose. The comprehensive purpose of the DAC is to promote the downtown. We have recently joined Main Street USA. When I say recently, within the last 2 or 3 years, we are an affiliate member. We're working hard to get the designated member status. And by the designated member status, that will open us up to more funding with grants, promotions within the Main Street USA, and it'll also give us more credibility with the other Main Street programs within Washington. As part of our mission, we're also wanting to enhance historical areas in downtown. As everybody knows, we still have a few of those old buildings left in and amongst the new. So part of what Main Street wants us to do is to take a survey of the downtown and have the historic buildings. Not necessarily, we can't fund their resources, but we can certainly give them the resources to the state and the city, and we've been working with businesses to do that. We do work under the BIA, which is a board. Most of our funding, 3/4 of it comes from the BIA. We go to their monthly meetings, we present our ideas to them, they listen to our ideas, and we listen to theirs as to how we want to see the downtown grow and be branded. And so we present our budget to them, and then the other part of the budget is with the city, under contract with them. And most importantly, what we provide is a forum for the business owners to come to our meetings, ask questions. There are still some smaller business owners that are afraid of government. So they come into our office, they ask questions, we can put them in touch with the resources that they need, or just be a sounding board if they're frustrated. And I think, actually this one we probably just already went over, so we'll move on to that. And just so that people understand the BIA, and we've kind of went over that. The BIA was designated long before my time, and I believe that they're expanding it out to the DUC at this point. But 239 businesses, their main purpose is to generate economic development and revitalizing the downtown. And we share that vision with them. And their goal and our goal as well is to bring a sense of community to downtown. I think Auburn has been missing that, and I think we can all agree that we need people to come downtown, and we need everybody to take a ownership and have pride in their downtown. Okay. As part of our committee work, we have 4 different committees: promotions, design, economic development, and organization. As part of our design committee, which I'm the chair of, we have been working very hard to revitalize downtown and to bring more aesthetic pleasing things to downtown as financing comes available. We have presented solar lighting for the tops of the buildings, murals, planters, and we replant them every year. We've also been painting the storefronts of some of the older businesses so they can have a facelift to match some of the really nice buildings going in. We're in the process of securing more funding for the painting, and our next painting will be the Children's Dance Club, which will happen hopefully March, maybe when the rain stops. We have a contractor and he's ready to go. It's just a matter of figuring out the appropriate time for that. Next up on that list is also, we're going to be bringing in decorative bike racks and painting the fire hydrants. those projects have been somewhat on hold due to the construction, and they probably won't be implemented, although we do have funding for those until after the theater has been built. And our board members, and I'm just gonna, the purpose for naming each one of them is so you can see how the talent that we have going into this year. Of course, we have Cheryl Rakes, our executive director. Stephanie Cox from the Children's Dance Studio is our president. Chantel Brooks, which is a Trek apartment resident, she's a co-vice president. Stacy Bonaparte is a co-vice president, she's with John L. Scott. Jordan Yada, who is the president of Heritage Bank. Kelly Murray, secretary with Auburn School District, board member. Diane Miranda from Trillion Employment, board member. Emerson, City of Auburn, he's also a board member. Bill Newman from the Rail Hoppin' Brewery Company, board member. Vance Olson, SEAX. Sherry Nurchel from Rose's Market, and then myself. And we currently have, I believe, 3 different board positions available. Pursuant to our bylaws, we can only have 15, and we are at 11 at this point. So we're looking for more board members and volunteers to help with our committees. All right, so just so you can understand what our committees do, the design, economic development, promotion, and organization. And this is a big part of what we're doing in addition. Oh, thank you. In addition to our events that we're putting on as well. The design committee, the promotion is the center of the community, showcasing our unique characteristics. So our newsletter, our email blasts, our t-shirt sales, they help put together the local events. The design committee, as we discussed, is the special projects. Organization is going to be in charge of our calendar, our mix and mingles, and our ribbon cutting / anniversary celebrations. And then economic vitality, which is obviously revitalization of downtown. Each committee member is meeting 1 to 2 times per month, in addition to our regular monthly meeting. Last year, we had about 692 volunteer hours. And with our committee meetings, we'll probably triple that this year. All right. Some of the events that we've had in 2024, we had senior pictures at that we provided. There are some low-income persons that could not afford senior pictures, so we went out and provided those to them. We participated in the Santa Parade, the Zombie Pub Crawl, our 3 vendor markets that we had each month, Pet Palooza, National Night Out, the Giving Wreath, which is our 5th year running. And what happens with the Giving Wreath is we put wreaths within different downtown businesses. The senior center reaches out to us and lets us know what shut-in seniors need. And then we provide the wreath. You pick something from the wreath, you put it into that business. And then this year we provided gift bags for the individual seniors. We then deliver them to the senior center, and then Meals on Wheels delivers them. This year, we had about 4 truckloads worth of inventory. And the seniors have really, really been receptive, and they love it. What we also do is from May 1st to September 1st, we have the historic walks. That's at 8 a.m. every Friday. We invite anybody to come on those. The purpose of that is so that we can discuss what's going on in downtown, where Auburn has been, to discuss some of the historic buildings, and just to get the community more involved. And from those walks, we've gotten several of our volunteers that help at events as well. And we also do the Santa pictures and Easter pictures. As part of our events, we have the Mix and Mingles, which is the third Thursday from 5 to 7 every month. This year, next month, we're implementing not only the Mix and Mingles, but a guest speaker. So the guest speaker will be anything from whose business it is, if they want to showcase, or public topics. We've been looking at getting the police officer in there, or just whatever the businesses come to us and say, hey, we need extra information. And it'll be a small part of the Mix and Mingle, maybe 10 or 15 minutes, just to have a little ask and answer. And we are also doing ribbon cuttings for new businesses and anniversaries. We just shared in Rainbow's 95th anniversary, which was a huge turnout, and it was really fun to see the history of the Rainbow. All right, aside from the events, things that's going on, obviously our monthly meetings, our meetings and our committee committee members. We're going out to other civic groups, giving presentations, partnering with them. Right now, we've partnered with the Lions Club. We've made presentations at the Rotary, with the Parks Department, the City of Auburn. I think there's so much more, but I'm losing my train of thought. So in a given week, we've got anywhere from 3 to 5 different meetings going on. So as part of 3-4 years ago, we didn't have an office space. And so the office space has really been utilized. In fact, we've grown out of it at this point. All right, well the next slide is just going over the historic walks on Fridays and what happens with that. I think we've kind of already discussed that. We really want to encourage everyone within the City of Auburn to get involved in our meetings, bring new ideas to us, let us know what you need, what you're looking for. That is part of it, going out to businesses and asking them, how can we better support you? And that during COVID, that was a huge part, because we couldn't do any events, was going out to the businesses and just asking them, what do you need? We're there for you. And we talked about the partnership. All right, the future of the downtown. What we're looking at this year specifically is create new traditions in our downtown that inspire the community, attract new businesses and residents. Although when we get business leads, we do pass them on to economic development. They're better tools to be able to recruit them than we are. We are working on filling all of our board positions, and we want to find more partners and sponsorships, more funding availability. We're working on that, but again, that goes back to us getting accredited with the Main Street USA, because grant funding will be opened up at that point. And we're waiting for the beautiful theater to be built so we can get going on some of our other projects. One of my pet projects that I hope we can do, but we'll see, is when the theater is built, the crosswalks on both sides is to make them a piano keyboard. I've been saying that for 3 years, and I'm gonna make it happen. I'm not sure how yet, but that's what we're working on. And then lastly, a lot of people have asked, why do we have a dog mascot? Why do we have a Dalmatian? It goes to Auburn history. In the 60s and 70s, when the fire station was located downtown or nearby, there was a dog named Duke, who was a Dalmatian, who would walk up and down Main Street, and the businesses would feed him. Everybody kind of adopted him. And once, and then it was Cheryl as our executive director. She was able to find a picture of that dog. And so we decided we wanted to bring a a lot of the older folks have been asking us, why can't we do certain things? Why can't we bring certain things back? And so we were specifically as a niche to them so they could remember to bring them in as well. Any questions?
Council, any questions for Christina? Councilmember Baldwin.
Yeah, so one area I know, I mean, obviously there's a lot that you're doing from in activities and promotions, work within the downtown core. But I know in recent years there had been some challenges and concerns related to safety and security in the downtown. And I know that the DAC played a big role in helping business owners connect with the city of Auburn around ways to mitigate that and make it a better place for folks to be. So I was curious how that's going and, you know, are you continuing to have the responses that you need?
The short answer is yes. When things got pretty critical downtown, the BIA actually stood up as well and got us some funding for additional security. The police chief has been phenomenal. When we call and say, hey, we're having an event, he sends extra patrol down there. We've kind of got a network with all the business owners downtown that when they see something, they get a hold of everybody. We need a much better system for that, whether it's developing an app or, because the downtown area is small. And once we have something going on with anything or anyone creating a hazard, everybody needs to know quickly, to whether it's to lock their door or to provide aid. So we can always improve on that. But what I can say is the downtown has gotten better. I don't know if it's because resources in Auburn have gotten better, whether they have stopped dropping them off in the middle of town, or however that looks. We don't have as many crimes happening in downtown, which I don't know if it's accumulation of everybody's efforts. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's us. I wouldn't say it's just the police officers, but I think everybody's more working together, and it's communication that's helped.
Councilmember Troutman-Well.
Yes, I have a comment. My husband and I, we do Meals on Wheels every other Tuesday. We have between 8 to 11 house apartments and homes that we go visit. When you guys gave those Christmas wreath bags, the look on those people's faces, some of them cried, because they don't get very many visitors, so they look forward to having us go in there and give them their food, and we hang around and talk with them every once in a while. But to get those gifts, it meant the world to them. So thank you for doing that, and I hope you guys continue doing that because they really look forward to receiving stuff.
And I'm so happy to hear that. And I know that's one of our most favorite events of the year. Obviously, we don't make any money off of it, but it's growing in momentum. And the more we can provide, it's just our pleasure to be able to provide that.
Okay. Thank you.
Christine, I have a couple of questions. So the events that the DAC put together and put out in 2024, what are some of the key takeaways that you learned from those events, and then what are you doing to take what you learned and move it into 2025?
One of the things to remember about 2024 is that we had COVID right before, and before COVID hit, we were running some very successful street fairs, complete with climbing wall, bouncy houses, and it was really gaining momentum. And then we had to stop. And then the construction, and we had to stop. So we're rebuilding. So what we're taking away from it is, number one, and that's why we also have a really great promotions committee, is promoting it more, getting it out sooner. And the benefit of us building our board bigger and better is that we have more hands on deck. For quite a while, it was just 2 or 3 of us at the DAC that was doing the handful of work. And biggest takeaway is we're learning to delegate and to
That's a hard word.
and yes, and to recruit talent. And when we look at getting new board members, we look at what's their niche, what can they help us with. So, because for instance, our website that we're developing, Vance from CX. He knows that forward and backwards. So we're tapping into him. So the biggest takeaway at this point going in is going to be the promotions. We're still going to be doing the events, but until we get our 4 committees perfected, we're going to have a little bit stops and stalls. And again, we have to do those committees for Main Street USA. So we're doing both, and we're hoping that we're going to have the markets again this year. We're looking to see what other opportunities with with the city might look like, and how we can perhaps complement some of their activities.
Before I ask any more questions, do you guys have any more questions? Councilmember Baldwin?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, as you guys have been kind of building up momentum and building up, consistency with your events, it's been nice to be able to come down and see the murals, see how the planters are looking pretty. It was exciting to drive down and all of a sudden we've got some lights that are showing up. And so I think even visually, if folks haven't been downtown in a while, I would just really encourage everybody to get down and see what's happening, right? Especially as we've got summer and spring around the corner. I think it's becoming more of, like those third places, where people go hang out at the library, or they go here, they go there. And I'm seeing more people just on the streets and walking their dogs and out and about. And, I know it takes tremendous work from everybody involved, but I think I'm beginning to see some of those changes, and it's an exciting time.
It is
So
exciting.
keep up the good work.
Fantastic. Christina, I know that the Main Street accreditation process is daunting. So where is the DAC right now in that accreditation process?
We made application last year. Yes. And we did not make the accreditation for a few things. First, the biggest thing is we need to do more funding, because what we pay our executive director is about half of what every other city gets. And until we develop more funding, so it's kind of a hamster wheel. We want to get with Main Street USA for the grants and the funding, but we can't get there until we get more funding. So our organization committees will be working on that. I know I've taken a couple of grant writing classes to try to tackle it, although we may end up hiring somebody if we can. So that was really the only check mark that we didn't get. Is that other than that, they were really impressed with us. It was kind of a long process and a huge application, which the city helped us out, providing us with some information there as well.
Fantastic. Questions? Anybody else? No? I have 2 more, Christina. What is the DAC doing to bring in or fold in some of the businesses outside of the BIA boundary?
Well, our mission is only for the BIA boundary. So unless they come and talk to us about wanting to be downtown, which we'll certainly share information with them, but because our mission statement is specifically for the BIA area, we don't do a whole lot. We do have members, our board members that are outside, and once they do that, we provide them with advertising and they can promote their business on our webpage, et cetera. But for the most part, we don't have enough manpower, and we've got to concentrate on the downtown. That's where that's our only mission, is the downtown.
And then I noticed that the $100 annual membership fee for the non-BIA members, I'm thinking of small businesses, that $100 could be their marketing budget. So what are you guys doing to make sure that they feel supported? If they're going to pay you the $100 membership fee, how are you making them feel supported? If they're going to, again, small businesses, $100 is a lot of money.
How we combat that is that they may spend that in advertising. Events that we do, we have flyers and our gift bags that we hand out for the businesses. We put them on social media. We've been doing it, we haven't started it back up this year, but Small Business Showcase. so that we're promoting them. They're allowed to come and bring, like in the vendor market, they can come bring their own booths there to promote themselves. So primarily, it's just, I don't want to say just, it's promotions of their business.
Okay. Council, any other questions? Christina, thank you for your presentation. And I believe we're moving on to Casey.
I'll get you up here. I'll give you the mouse.
Hello, everyone. I'll at least introduce myself. I'm Casey Bray. I am with the Auburn Area Connect. And then we also currently right now, well, I'd say 2024 and the past 2 years prior to that, had the tourism contract. So tourism dollars are dollars that are a hotel tax. So they can only be used for actually promoting the city to get heads and beds outside of a 50-mile radius. It's an LTAC tax. That's all it can be spent on. So if you have any questions about that at another time, you can definitely ask me about that. But that's what it's primarily used for. And I've been on the board for tourism for many, many years before I was even at Auburn Area Connect when I was with the Outlet Collection. But then when we saw the need to help with tourism, we took over that contract. And so I'm going to just go over a recap of 2024 of what we did over the last year so you guys can kind of get an idea of that. So website stats, I think sometimes this is beneficial for us to know, especially when we are trying to target people to come into the area. It isn't necessarily are we trying to get people to see if they're already a resident here, but it's people to come and stay, come and also spend dollars and stuff. Because we know if they stay at a hotel, they're most likely going to spend dollars elsewhere. So you have website visits by state that we have on there. Currently, the website was also redesigned. So we redesigned it in June, July-ish of 2023. We actually launched it, I think, in July of 2023. And with that, it opened up the possibility of having multiple more businesses on there. So currently right now we have 1,029 businesses on there. Also with that, it has specialty listings that businesses can put on there, which we really kind of like because it could be a veteran owned or it could be a woman owned, kid friendly, wheelchair accessible. Sometimes people, when they're visiting outside, they might not know and they're looking for certain amenities. And so we made sure that that was available for our businesses to put on. And then events that we have posted. So all of our events currently, if they are posted on Facebook, they directly go on to exploreauburn.com. So 156 event posts. So anything that they're going to see on Facebook is also going to be on our website, which we love that feature, especially because then we can be co-hosts like with Parks and Rec and stuff like that, and so they can automatically go on there. And then top countries, United States, of course, but then also Canada, Germany and Japan and Russia are top countries that have clicked through to our website. You can kind of see a website visit wheel there that kind of talks about the pages and then also how they got to our website. And then 12 blog posts. We try to make a blog post once a month about things that are going on in this area. So it might entice people to check it out. Social media breakdown. For social media, we try really, really hard to showcase all the things that Auburn has. And so you'll see the breakdown of where we kind of have our posts we're focused on. So that just kind of, we of course want to make sure that we're focusing on all the fun and events that we have here that are attracting people to this area, but then also our retails and hotels. So lots of social media posts. For instance, you'll notice on the other page, it kind of gives some social media stats. For instance, our hashtag Explore Auburn that we push out there, getting people to use that hashtag, how many accounts were reached on Facebook, interactions, total views, our reach. Surprisingly enough, like we did TikTok. We started TikTok in 2023, middle of 2023. TikTok gets tons of interaction and views. we hardly have any followers on there, right? But the amount of accounts that are reached and views of those videos have been extremely successful for us. And I think that just has to do with people are using platforms in different ways. And so we're trying to reach them on these 4 main platforms, which is TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and then X. I will say X is probably something that is the least reachable for like tourism, but it's a great way to get information out. And so we still post on X as well. And then our social demographics, I think this is always like an interesting thing for people to realize. Our top cities that are reaching out through social media, or clicking through or following us, Seattle, Los Angeles, Houston, Phoenix, and Las Vegas. So those really are outside of the Auburn area, which is great because that's our main goal. And then top countries, you'll see as well that we're having interaction on social media from other countries, not just the United States. And then viewers by gender, and then also viewers by age. And it's always going to be different on different platforms, but we want to make sure that we're taking like inventory of that because it only betters our moving forward when we're making those posts and really intentional about those posts. Something that we did brand new this year, we started a photo booth so that we could print pictures on demand and have that at our events. So we had 88 people participate in that. We started that photo booth at the beginning of July, and then we're just using that at events now currently, and it's been a great way to just be able to provide them that hand back, and it also has whatever we brand on that at that event. So sometimes it'll be Explore Auburn, sometimes it might be an HRA event, but it also have Explore Auburn logo and our website on there as well. Marketing materials. You saw the lovely bags that were provided to you guys. Something that we do as a resource, and maybe to answer Councilmember Baldwin some of your questions on that, we do provide bags, swag bags, to anybody that wants to reach out to us if we hear about an event or anything of that nature. We're like, hey, how can we make sure that person that's coming to that conference or that person that is having a meeting at your facility get information about our community, because we know that there's downtime during those conferences and events, and we want to make sure that we're getting them to our other businesses in the area and spending dollars. So lots of swag that is created. We put some swag in there for you to be able to look at some of the things that we have done. Of course, our posters, advertising. Our posters were a huge hit at Festival of the Trees. We started those in December and are handed out to anybody who voted at Festival of Trees. People loved them, which was awesome. As you can see, over 1,200 promotional items handed out at events and conferences throughout the year. We have bubbles, which you guys have, and everybody likes bubbles. I don't care if I'm an adult, but those bubbles were great for us to have at Airport Day to be able to hand out to the kids. So it was something that it was fun for us to create something a little bit different. We also have stickers, keychains. One of the things that I think is important too is with the partnership with the hotels. We have, and it's, I can't like kind of point to it, but there is a sign and it's double-sided and it's paper and it goes in every single hotel room. And it has a QR code so that it allows us to be able to get people to come back to our website and look at all the other things that are going on. And it talks about just exploring the Auburn area, because we want to make sure that when people go into those hotels, they have an easy way to bounce back and know more, especially if they're only there for one night, but maybe they're just looking for something quick and easy to do the next morning before they go out of town. So the hotels have been super great about having those in their hotel rooms, as it's no cost to them. And it's an easy thing too, if they get damaged, for us to be able to provide them another one. So they have stacks of those at those hotels, getting them so that people can come back and learn about more things going on. We also attended the Washington State Tourism Conference. We also received the Washington State Tourism Rookie of the Year Award for Explore Auburn. That was great because then it put us out there on this stage as Auburn is doing these wonderful things in tourism, as you have over 500 different cities that are participating in that are trying to gain tourism followers to their area, but They give out 3 awards a year. We received one of those, so that was a great accomplishment for us in 2024. And then I just put a quote in there from Rachel, who oversees the museum and the farm, just because we're providing those materials to other people to be able to hand out. It's not even just us handing them out. It's allowing other people to have things that they can give as incentives to bring people into their business or to their activity or their event. Year-long sponsorship locations. So these are ones where we're like creating a sponsorship activation. One of them is at JA. That was a new one, and that one's in conjunction with the city hall. They have these cute little windows there that were already there, so we wanted to make sure that we did something fun that kind of showed what we have in the area to our youth that are going there. So we did this stamp thing in correlation with tourism. We also have our Explore Auburn Tourism desk there, and they have all their materials that they could tell people about. So there's actually a job description, job role for a tourism director per se. So we're excited about that one that's there at City Hall and then in the JA building. And I think one of the things that's important to note, for instance, there's over 35K in visitors to JA every single year. So the investment in that is not just only our youth, but it's also an investment in all the people that are coming through that, whether it be volunteers, whether events that they have there, to see that there is so many things to do. We actually have a television screen set up there inside that city hall that runs images of all of our businesses, our parks, and everything like that. And so that way people, while they're sitting there all day working in that area, get to say, oh, I want to go have a hamburger at Stacks now, or I want to go have a donut at Legendary. So it's a great way for us to market our businesses as well in that environment. And then another one that we have is at Emerald Downs. Emerald Downs has over 200K of attendees every year. And so we have this red carpet special area that is there at Emerald Downs that anybody can take pictures in front of, but also when they do their activities, for instance, this is a picture at Kentucky Derby. They will take those pictures for the people that are in front of there that are trying to win that Kentucky Derby contest, and they have multiple different ways to win an award. And you get to see beautiful hats and outfits, which is super fun. But that Explore Auburn is there, and then it also has like handouts and stuff like that for them to get back to Explore Auburn to learn more. So it's a great way for us to be in an area that actually has a lot of visitors outside of that 50-mile radius. And then of course we are at Pacific Raceways. Pacific Raceways, these signages are set up throughout the whole entire year, and so they have over 300 events there annually, so these signs are being seen there annually. And then also we do Fan Fest, and then we have a booth there during NHRA, but this year-long activation has been really great for us to market to people that are coming there. And definitely Pacific Raceways does see a lot of people coming there from outside of that 50-mile radius. So it's great to be able to have that installation as well. And in 2024, we also continued our installation that was at the Outlet Collection that is in their play area, which that is the main mall entrance when you're going to Fieldhouse. We all know that Fieldhouse is bringing tons of people from outside of that 50-mile radius. We have just tons of pictures of our businesses. Those columns actually have their Polaroid pictures, and so it has tons of different pictures, and kids can look at those and see those. And there's also QR codes as well on the tables so that people can come back to it. And then there's television screens that run those ads as well there at the Outlet Collection. And they have, according to them, 7 million visitors. I know from when I worked there, tons of people would come there because it was an indoor outlet mall, which there isn't an indoor outlet mall in Washington State, but there. And so it really does attract those bus loads of people that are coming for like tour trips. So it's a great way for us to be able to provide information about stuff that is throughout the Auburn area. And then events and sponsorships and promotions. We, of course, want to make sure that we aren't we wanna make sure that we're providing help and funding to other people that are bringing in their events into this community, that are bringing people outside of that 50-mile radius. So some of those things are like Pet Palooza, Veterans Day Parade, Airport Day, NHR Race. We had Festival of Trees. They had over 700 people come and vote at that. The Students of Color Conference that they have at, this is the second year that they had at Green River. We provided them all kinds of swag that they were able to give out to everybody. The Green River New Student Orientation, these are people that are staying in they're like staying on campus. So making sure that they have a welcome packet that provides them information about this area, because those are people that are not typically from this region even. A lot of them are international students. Emerald Downs Relay Race, Kentucky Derby, the Seattle Parrot Expo. And I can say, even in that question, when we asked the hotels, that one's the easiest one for us to know, because the hotels are like, we had a lot of parrots here. So we know that's coming from the Seattle Parrot Expo, just because there were so many animals in our hotels, and I'm glad that our hotels don't mind having them. Aloha Fest, that's done out at the Outlet Collection. They bring in tons of different people to be able to have a concert and festival, food trucks, and all that kind of stuff. That really is a cultural experience. If you haven't been to one, it's a great event to go to. Native American Workforce Conference. This is the first year it was at Muckleshoot. They had over 300 people there, and we provided them with our swag bags so that they could get information out, because it was a 3-day event. So allowing them to know about things that they could do in this area. Santa Paws, taking pictures with your animals and Santa Claus, who doesn't love that, but that also draws in people from outside the area, because if you're a dog lover like me, you'll do pretty much the same thing with your dog as you do with your child. And then the Santa Parade, we had our photo booth before the parade was open, so that we were giving people free pictures that they could come in and take. And we did that in our office this year, just to see how it went. It was great to have people come in our office, have our doors open before the parade, put on lights and get their free pictures. And then also some of the things that we do is hand out gift baskets. Those gift baskets go to some of our nonprofits, for instance, like the See Ya Later Foundation Gala, or Cheers for Careers, or Your Money Matters Gala. We want to make sure that we're giving back to other nonprofits in this area that are doing good things, but also while getting those people that might be bidding on those baskets to be coming back to the Auburn businesses. So some of those businesses that we had, from Gasenko's Chocolates to Stacks to Legendary Donuts to SEAX to Pacific Northwest Coffee, just different businesses that we go and purchase from them. So then we're giving them business, but then also then hopefully those people are coming back and spending even more money. And then this is kind of just an overall, like, cheers to 2024. We work really, really hard on our social media to make sure that we are promoting this area. And sometimes we like to do it in a funny manner. For instance, I'm the one dressed up in that Bigfoot outfit, hunting for Easter eggs. We went to businesses to promote the businesses with different face masks on this year, which was a great way to showcase a business in a different, unique way in the October month. And yes, we are dressed up in horse costumes, racing down Emerald Downs racetrack for Halloween. The Stay Golden Pony did win. We did not let the skeleton pony win in that video, but just things that we like to do to make sure that we are promoting our business in a creative way. And then I'm wondering if I should take a stop for Explore Auburn, or just move on to our economic development.
You can go ahead and move on.
Okay, just want to make sure. Okay, so then the next thing is we also work with the city for economic development. And how much can I just thank you guys for that website? It looks absolutely gorgeous, and I'm so excited to be able to have that as a promotional material. You guys did well done. But we partner with the city, obviously, to bring in economic development here, but also resources for people that are here when it comes to economic development. And so some of the things that we do to get that out there is connecting our businesses, and we do that through ribbon cuttings. So there's a list of our ribbon cuttings throughout the year. We love doing ribbon cuttings, they're fun, and sometimes we get pet kittens, which is even better. But they've been great events that we've been doing at least since I've been with the chamber for 6 years now, and super appreciative of that partnership with the city and every council member that has come out. We're really truly grateful for that, because I can tell you every business loves seeing somebody that supports businesses but also sits on council. So I do thank you so much for that. I know that you guys have limited time. And then another way that we work with our businesses to make sure that we're connecting them and really making sure that they have other connections out in the business community, so that they're either meeting new people that might be new customers or having that collaboration, is our Connect Business events. And there's a list of the Connect Business events that we do. We like to make them moved around throughout the whole area of Auburn. Oh, of course. Sorry, my bad. So we want to make sure that we're doing them at different places. Some of them more traditional, some of them like activity-based. So anywhere from a bank to a retail location, or it could be even, a casino, restaurants. It's just been a fun way for us to connect, and they've been really successful. We do those the first Wednesday of every month from 3 to 5. Currently, actually, we did one at Green River Trades Complex in January. Imperial Palace will be in February, and then March, Sherman Williams. I'm super excited about that because everybody's going to have an opportunity to paint and put a collaboration painting together that we'll hang in our office from our business community. And another fun one we already have on the books is at Smoke and Cedar. That one will be hosted by Live Nation at the new restaurant that is at the top of Muckleshoot Casino. So we're excited about that one as well. I'm sure there's going to be good food there. And then some of the other ways that we connect, just so you know that we make sure that we are promoting the Auburn area in our visitor and business guide. That is distributed through 112 different locations, just certified distribution locations. So that's like hotels, airports. Also, it's through Washington and then also Oregon rest stops. We are lucky enough to capture, a lot of places only have 4 to 6 magazine spots because most of the other ones are rack cards. We have these at 112 different locations, which is a great thing for us to be able to do. We currently distribute 10,000 of them at those locations, and it's a great way to have our businesses showcased, but also the Auburn area. And then another thing that we do is our Welcome Home Guide. So it's a little bit of a minier version of this, and this is directly mailed to people that move into the Auburn area. And so this is a condensed guide, but it focuses on just the things that we have in this area, and also important numbers and welcome to your new home and things to do in the area. So it's just a nice little welcome to anybody that moves into our region. I just have a few little things that we do on there. For instance, Small Business Saturday. We attended 213 events or meetings. We spend a lot of time in meetings and a lot of time at events to make sure that we are keeping that connection with not just Auburn, but also with our King County and our Pierce County areas, so that we can always be on top of things and offer that information out to our businesses as well. We did 83 email blasts. Those email blasts, our typical ones are every single Thursday, but on top of that, we do additional email blasts, whether it be for a certain business that wants an email blast out for a special event that they're doing, or like we did an email blast for Parks and Rec just recently to make sure that they also were getting sponsorship. So to announce their sponsorship packages that they have available in 2025. So just bolstering our business community through those email blasts. And right now, currently, we have 5,544 email contacts that information goes out to. And then economic growth through connection, I think, again, being a part of different community organizations, one of the things that we also really believe in is we're committed to the growth of our future employees and making sure that people have great education routes that they can go through so that they can be great employees to our businesses that are already here or maybe our future employees. And then also leadership and really providing ways for businesses to get information on how to grow, but also through, I don't know if people know this, but we also are the facilitator of the South Sound Leadership Institute, and that is a way for people to grow, and we give out scholarships to that as well if somebody can't afford it, but it's a great way to grow as a leader in our communities, but also for our businesses. And that's it.
Council, any questions for Casey? Councilmember Baldwin.
Yeah, so when I think of conferences and different events, right? I had not heard of the Seattle Parrot Expo. So that's sort of fun and exciting and unexpected. But I think in Auburn have some great facilities that could be really good for maybe picking up smaller, maybe more niche type conferences that would maybe not be big enough to go into like the Seattle Convention Center, but might fit well within like the Muckleshoot complex or at Green River College or different places like that. With all of the different sort of regional organizations that you're a part of, do you ever have tie-ins with like the Seattle Convention Center to be like, hey, if you get, or the Tacoma one as well, if you guys get smaller groups that aren't the right fit, like send them our way type situation?
So I would say most tourism areas are really just focused on theirs, but if they
Like referrals, I guess.
yeah, so if they work within that, which like the Seattle Convention Center does, but if you work within that Washington State Tourism, that is kind of how we do it through it there.
Okay.
So for instance, if somebody goes directly to Seattle, they might go, no, but here are some other partners through the
Region.
Yep. Or we'll get those RFPs that come through and it's an email blast from Washington State Tourism. And so then we get to see those and then we can say, hey, we have these locations that might meet your needs. That's kind of how we
Attract them.
yeah, because I think most people will just call one individual place. For instance, like we're working right now with a company that does over 24 events at Fieldhouse, but they're looking for even more additional space in this area. And so trying to collaborate with them to have places that their teams can rent out facilities, but then also today I put them in contact with the person that rents out Green River Gymnasium because it just was reopened and seeing if instead of that overlap of how many courts they need going to Highline would be going to Green River. And so a lot of it is collaboration through the Washington State Tourism or collaboration through a lot of our businesses in our community, and they reach out to us. We get calls all the time. I get a call, I'm doing research to find out how I could get a funeral really, really quickly for 25 people that they had, and they'd already called the Parks Department, but the Parks Department, for instance, was completely booked up because it was so last minute. And so then we're taking that call and trying to find locations for them. So that's a lot of the ways that we're always looking to help those smaller individual events.
Okay, great, thank you.
Casey, I have a question.
Yeah.
The networking breakfasts are some of my favorite events that you guys put together. So, like, the participation rates on those for 2024, how was that?
Well, we don't do breakfast.
Oh, well, wait, what? There was one that was at the end of the year.
The South Sound Legislative.
Oh, yes.
Yes, so I'm on the board of the South Sound Legislative, so that is once a year, and that is our way of providing legislative priorities. And then also through our website and through our email blast, I give a legislative update on what's going on right now in Olympia during the legislative session. And so we do provide that information to all of our businesses, and then we have call to action on those reports as well. So somebody might be interested in one thing that's going on, and they might want to, I would say, testify or at least provide a yes or no. And so that preface really kind of outlines 2025 for us, and then we promote that and that connection of staying informed about things that might affect businesses through our blog post and through our email blast.
Sorry.
No, it's
I
okay.
was confused
That's
there
what I
for a
was
second.
like, yeah.
So the support that you provide for some of the small businesses, like when we do ribbon cuttings, so
Mhm.
what was the feedback that you received from those, and how are you working to support those businesses that we did ribbon cuttings for from this last year?
So I would say most of those businesses are like, oh, we weren't expecting as much as what you guys are providing. I think one of the things is just coordinating, one, to have somebody from the city, whether it be the mayor or a city council person there, because that's something that they love seeing, right? We actually have a ribbon cutting coming up
Friday.
this Friday. Yeah, I'm in Olympia all day Thursday, so I'm like, okay, Friday. But they love the fact that we are promoting their business. We not only promote their business ahead of time, but then we're also following up with that video and that promotion of that business after. So one thing that we make sure everybody knows is that any of our events that we have, whether it be a ribbon cutting or a business connect event, you don't have to be a member of the chamber, because to me, we want everybody to have some way of connecting. And so if you go to a lot of different, I would say, chambers, that they're not open without it being a chamber business. We don't do that. And then some of the benefits is our marketing reach, and that's our biggest thing, is how do we help market you and how do we get you the resources to market yourself.
Fantastic. Question, Council? Councilmember Troutman.
Thank you for such a great report, all of you. So now I am really expecting to see our tourism taxes go up with all the stuff that you are going to be doing. Yeah, because I've looked at other cities that they're doing their tourism taxes, and some of them bring in a lot more than we do. So you guys are going to be doing a lot of work this coming year, it sounds like. So I'd like to see how much taxes we're going to be getting out of that.
And so just like a point to that, I think that tourism, we all need to know that tourism is capped at a certain amount of tax based off of your occupancy, right? So if you don't have the hotel rooms, for instance, during something like NHRA, people were having to stay way outside, right? And so that's because we didn't have the demand, right? That is nothing that any of us can really control, except for the fact of making sure that we're bringing events during maybe different seasons. So a slow season would be a December or January, and try to figure out how we're putting heads in bed then, because our tax is only as much as we have hotel rooms. Now, our hotel rooms could raise the rate of their rates, and then our tax dollars come in a little bit more, but.
Mayor?
So there is a limit on the lodging tax that can be collected outside of King County. I believe in Pierce County, it's 7%, city attorney?
Mayor, deputy mayor, and council members, I believe some cities in Pierce have the higher percentage because the county doesn't take as much as King County does.
King County takes a
A chunk.
bigger portion than the city is eligible to receive, but some counties, the county does not take the lodging tax, and so it can all go to the city. So that's a good reason that some cities outside of King County are collecting more than we do. They have the ability to do that with a higher taxing rate.
Okay.
Yeah,
But if
we
you guys could
always
work
want to
things
make
out.
sure we have more heads in beds, that is for sure.
That's good.
And I think that we've seen since obviously COVID, the increase of that. We also did lose a hotel a few years ago, in the sense of it was then repurposed, doing great repurpose work, thankful for that. But it also took out quite a few hotel rooms that would contribute to that too. So our main objective is making sure our hotels are thriving and then maybe potentially getting another hotel.
Councilmember, any more questions? Casey, Jen, Emerson, Christina, thank you very much for your presentations tonight. Looking forward to see what you guys bring in 2025. Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys.
All right, next up, jumping into Public Works. And tonight, we're gonna hear from Matt Larson and Jeffrey Bender, correct?
Council members, Mayor, thank you for having us. We appreciate taking the time to hear our real presentation here. So for the record, I'm Matthew Larson, Senior Project Engineer. With me is Jeff Bender. He's also a Senior Project Engineer. So we come to quarterly, come to council meetings, study sessions to talk about the status of our capital projects. We typically bring in a feature project, but this time of year, we like to do a little wrap up of the previous year and then what kind of just what's coming in 2025. So with that, just a quick reminder for the group. Our Public Works Engineering Services we manage capital projects for the city. That could include transportation projects, that would be traffic signals, pavement preservation, non-motorized improvements. We also do capital projects for the airport, our utilities, water, sewer, storm. And then we do some of the larger facility improvement projects and then larger parks projects as well. And then we provide reports to City Council. We call them the CPS report, which stands for Capital Project Status Report. On this report, which is in your packets, it identifies whether or not that project is in the design phase or in the construction phase. A brief description of the work, of what the total estimated project cost is going to be, and just a brief status update on where we are in the process. So like I said, we come to this meeting quarterly. We typically have a feature project that we like to highlight. But this one, like I said, we're going to be doing a year-end wrap-up and a preview for 25. We do have capital project status report available online anytime that you want. There's the link there, or you can navigate through our webpage to go through into our capital projects, Public Works page, and you can find it downloaded, printed there. All right, so 2024, just really quickly looking at some of the quick stats for what we did in 2024. We did preserve 2.5 lane miles of pavement. We installed around 5,200 linear feet of sidewalk, 63 curb ramps. Those were for ADA compatibility. Excuse me. And then 21 new streetlights. Some of the utility work, 7,100 linear feet of storm pipe, 700 feet of sewer main, 5,100 of water main. Some of the more well-known items, we did demolish the Auburn Avenue Theater to make way for the new future theater. We're really excited about. And we did build about 360 feet of retaining wall this last year. And then kind of the big prized possession that we want to highlight from this last year. You guys have all seen pictures and media posts of it, but our new pedestrian bridge over the White River, super excited that we were able to complete that this year as well. So, just a little bit more statistics. So currently we have 46 active capital projects totaling $151 million. 28 of those 46 are in the design phase, 18 are in the construction phase currently. Just a quick note that 151 million is a lot of money. For everybody's understanding, that $151 million does span over several years and budget cycles depending on the project. So just wanted to clarify that 151 million is not in the 25 budget. And then I did want to briefly just give, I know that the Auburn Avenue Theater is a hot topic. And we all want to have sort of updates regularly. So I just wanted to take the opportunity to do a quick brief update on that project, as I am the project manager for that project. So on page 72 of your packet, that's the page 10 of the CPS report. That's where that project is housed. Just a brief update on that. So we are complete with the preliminary schematic design of the theater. Basically outlines the general footprint of the building, some general room layouts, sizing, and we are currently under contract negotiations to start the final design of that, and we anticipate designing and permitting this year with a tentative groundbreaking in the first quarter of 26, and then hoping the tentative ribbon cutting to open up the doors, hoping for the fourth quarter of 26. Then I'm going to pass it over to Jeff here to talk about what is happening this construction season.
Thank you. So I'm going to highlight a few projects that are either in construction or will be going to construction soon. The first one I want to highlight for you is the C Street Southwest Preservation Project, that is CP 2123. That is on page 66 of your council packet. This project will patch areas of the roadway that require more than just a grind and overlay, as well as a grind and overlay of that entire roadway. This will be on C Street Southeast from West Main Street down to what we call the GSA signal. That signal is the first signal south of 15th Street Southeast, and that is, I think, known as Colony Road. In addition to the pavement preservation, we will also have improvements to the water main. We'll upgrade the storm drain system through there as well for storm collection, and there are some sanitary sewer utility upgrades as well. This project was anticipated to start construction in February of this year. We were just informed by the contractor that some of the materials that we need, mainly the water main, aren't readily available, and they are working to get those materials ordered. We now anticipate that we will start construction in May on the water main. The second project, one that you guys may all seen, this is the Regional Growth Center access improvements on CP 2110. This is at the 3rd and 4th Street Northeast intersections of Auburn Avenue. And they'll improve the connections into the downtown off of Auburn Way Auburn Way North. These improvements include the non-motorized access improvements, as well as improvements to our traffic operations and circulations. Also, we have stormwater collection systems that are being upgraded. And we will have the new decorative signals being installed and improved street lighting. This project was, right now we have northbound closure of Auburn Avenue. The contractor is waiting for a good weather window in order to pave. I know it seems like all this nice sunny weather we have right now, it just is too cold to have frozen subgrade. Does not make for good paving substrate. So we do anticipate that we will have that opened up by mid-February though, at least with a base lift and some temporary striping while we wait for our signal poles to arrive before we do all the final improvements. The next project that we're excited about as well here is the Public Works M&O facility improvements. I know our M&O staff, this is just phase 1, sorry. Our M&O staff are really looking forward to this project. It expands our maintenance facility by adding a building adjacent to the existing heavy equipment bays. This portion of the building is primarily going to be for our small fleet vehicles. We will be adding 6 maintenance bays, some office space for some of our staff, as well as restroom facilities. This project is currently out for bids right now, and we will or anticipate opening bids on the 6th of February with construction starting in March. Garden Avenue realignment is the next project I wanted to highlight for you guys. This is CP 2022. It is on page 68 of your council packet. This project's bids were opened and awarded in January. We're anticipating construction to start in late February, early March. This project will disconnect the current Garden Avenue connection to 8th Street, 320th Street, Lee Hill Road. It's all kind of blends together through there with a cul-de-sac, and we will build a new connection between 102nd Avenue and 104th Avenue Southeast. In addition, there will be utility upgrades and improvements for our storm and water, as well as some sewer. Auburn Way South. We've had a lot of work on Auburn Way South. This is our next phase. This will be from Hemlock to Poplar. It is CP 1622 and can be found on page 69 of your council packet. This project will widen the roadway to expand the 5-lane section that we have to the west, or to match the 5-lane section that we have to the west. It'll expand that 5-lane section to the east to connect to the new roundabout that was installed by the Auburn School District. And then at the east end of that roundabout, we will carry that 5-lane section as far as we can, where we'll taper back down to tie into the existing 3-lane section right around Redwood, just past Poplar Street. It also will include the realignment of Poplar to make access in and out of Poplar Street easier, in aligning it with the driveway with the Clearwater Ridge apartments. So it's creating more of an intersection than having 3 different accesses right across from each other. This project will expand, or in the expansion, we will include 10-foot wide sidewalks, streetlights, transit stops, water main upgrades, sewer upgrades in a small section of it, and we will also be upgrading the water main, tying into what was updated from or improved from the Auburn School District all the way to the eastern limits. This project is, I think I mentioned, is out for bids, and we are opening bids on Thursday of this week. So this project is one of our larger federally funded projects at the moment, and we anticipate construction starting probably mid-March and going through June to July of 26. The next project that I have here is the 125 East Main building demolition. This is the building that is currently occupied by Hills of Comics. This property was acquired by the city late last year, early this year. In that acquisition, the Hills of Comics has a lease that they will remain in the building until February of this year. At that time, when they vacate the building, we will be able to get our consultants in to do a preliminary structural evaluation in preparation for demolition, as well as a regulated materials survey to determine if there are any regulated materials that we need to be prepared for. We anticipate construction for this late spring, early summer, being completed in that summertime time frame. I also want to note that this will be the future site of the downtown park, adjacent to the new theater. The next project is the Downtown Infrastructure Improvement Project, CP 2321. This project can be found on page 76 of your council packet in the CPS report. This project will include infrastructure improvements, new signal at Main and Auburn Avenue, water main upgrades, as well as storm and sewer upgrades. This project will be completed with all of the downtown decorative features that we have in our design standards. And as we call it, reimagined B Street Plaza, right there adjacent to the east side of Divine Court. And additional and improved street lighting. This project will promote future redevelopment and will support our existing businesses. Construction for this project currently is anticipated for late spring of this year. Right now we are finishing up a lot of our design elements and features, trying to get our design packages ready to put out and advertise for bids. The last one here is more of a program. It's our neighborhood traffic calming program and sidewalk repair program. Through this program, we have developed projects that we construct. I have listed on this slide 3 projects that have come out of this program so far. The first one is the 2024 Neighborhood Improvement Project, CP 2317. Which can be found on page 63 of your council packet in the CPS report. I know it says page 2 here. That was a typo. It is on page 1 of the CPS report, so it is on page 63 of your council packet. This project is installing additional street lighting and sidewalk extensions, primarily in the southeastern Auburn area between 32nd Street Southeast all the way up to 28th Street, 25th Street, and then 6th Street Southeast, primarily between M Street and R Street through that corridor project. In addition to the sidewalk and street lighting, we are installing speed cushions in these neighborhoods. As we have found through a lot of the research that is done through the Institute of Transportation Engineers, traffic calming helps improve the quality of life in our neighborhoods by reducing automobile speeds. So a way to do that is these speed cushions. The second project, that project is currently in construction right now. The second project on the slide is the 23-24 Neighborhood Traffic Calming Program, which is a focus area, that is CP 2305. And it can be found on page 64 of your council packet. This project has been in construction for a couple of weeks. It is installing traffic circles on B Street at the intersection with 13th Street, as well as 15th Street Southwest. In addition, there are multiple streets between the A and M-ish corridor that we are installing speed cushions through these neighborhoods to help reduce traffic speeds on our local streets. The last project highlighted on this program is the 2025 Neighborhood Traffic Safety and Pedestrian Accessibility Project. It is CP 2501 and can be found on page 70 of your council packet. This project is currently in design. It's in its early design phase. We just initiated this project earlier this month. This project will be installing speed limit signs on various streets throughout the city. We will be installing a couple of stop signs at some specific intersections that have been identified that we need to have stop control at. And we will be improving the sidewalks in areas where we have identified raised or broken panels for improvements. And those are the projects that I have today to highlight and open it up to any questions that you guys might have for Matt or myself.
Council, any questions? Councilmember Baldwin.
First, kudos on the pedestrian bridge. I was talking to one of our residents this weekend, and they were just sharing their love and excitement over that, so wanted to pass that on. And then with regard to the M&O building upgrade, I was digging kind of between the presentation and then the status report. I vaguely recall for that extension of the existing building that's gonna require some electrical upgrades that'll be triggered as part of that, is that correct?
That is correct,
Are
yes.
there any other elements that'll come into play because it's an existing building being expanded on?
So, so as far as the permitting is concerned, we have gone through the building permit process and all of the any of the improvements that we're doing to the existing building have been covered by the building permit. With respect to the power service upgrade, I think the thing that's notable here is that we do have additional phases of the M&O expansion. And we are sizing that so it's forward compatible to those planned future improvements. I think that's probably a key component to the power service question.
Yeah, I was thinking very much about how you're gonna stage that so we don't, it makes me think of sort of the National Lampoon Christmas Vacation where you've got all of the extension cords just plugged and plugged and plugged.
There's a very specific, I was actually speaking with the project engineer today about this, there's a very specific sequencing of the power swap over that we have to coordinate with both Puget Sound Energy, the contractors, and M&O to make sure that they are continuing to, I mean, it's a critical facility for us, and so we have to make sure we maintain power to that building.
Okay, but there's a plan, we're confident.
Plan, yes.
All right, that's what I like to hear, thank you.
Yeah.
Any more questions? Councilmember Rakes, or sorry, Deputy Mayor Rakes.
Thanks. I do have a question. I had a resident call me. The new lampposts that we put in on the R Street project.
Okay.
Down there, when are those gonna be lit up?
That is a great question. So I believe we just received them and they installed them. I have not gotten an update from the project engineer on that, the timing of that. I do know that the power service is installed and it has been inspected by L&I, and so it is good to go. So it's just a matter of rewiring it, so soon. I don't know exactly when.
Well, good news is they really like them.
Good.
Bad news is they want them lit up now. So I told them I'd ask.
Yes, okay.
Councilmember, any more questions? Councilmember Amer.
I jump in when you have the photo of the bridge. Just, I really love it, and I think it's something for as engineering when you go speak to kids. This is brilliant mind to have, using the idea to build like for the water pipes. So that's why I know all the time we talking about it as a pedestrian bridge. I would love to talk about it more, admire it, then because just I need to know the mind who designed this bridge. I really love it, and even I request to have bigger poster of it, and you'll see I'm serious talk about it. So thank you. It's amazing, and I hope that we will have the information somehow either side so the kids in summer they'll be able to read it, to be that good example of think out of the box.
Yeah, I will say that I think kudos should go to the design team for that. It was a lot of, honestly, many years, a lot of permitting that had to go into that. Regulatory agencies had a lot of comments, and it's not very often, it's funny because as an engineer, when you're in college and you're thinking, you're like, oh, I want to build and design bridges or big buildings. And then when you get into the real world, you don't really have that opportunity very often. So it is really cool for our team to be able to do, something like this. And so we appreciate that you all appreciate it. We really like doing these types of projects. So it's kind of the nerd in us that we like that.
Councilmember Baldwin.
And then I was going to ask on the theater project, I know you're getting into the design phase, and I think I had brought this up at one of the other theater conversations, which is just hoping and encouraging, and you probably already have it covered, but when we are going through the design of that facility, that we make sure the bathrooms in particular are accommodating to people who might have physical challenges or disabilities, not only in having enough room for them to be able to maneuver if they have wheelchairs or assisted devices, but if they need someone to help them, right? So making sure that with our bathroom facilities, we have at least one where if somebody needed someone to support them in going through and using, the bathroom, that we're able to have that, since it's a new building, and being able to have our arts programs available to everyone in the community, I think is really important. So as you're working with our design consultants, just one request in that arena. And then I have one other point. And then the last question I had is with the expansion of Auburn Way South, widening that. Do you have a sense of what the improvement will be for traffic flow? Like how much faster will cars be able to get through that section of town safely?
It's a relatively short section, right? So from Hemlock to the roundabout's about 1,000 feet. Right now, with having to bottleneck everyone down to one lane and then go through that roundabout, does slow things down. I don't have an exact number or an exact anticipated reduction in time that I can provide you at the moment.
Okay. Maybe when we're done.
Any more questions, council? No? Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate your presentation tonight. By the request of Deputy Mayor Rakes, there's a 5-minute recess for a restroom break. Mayor, is that good? Are we good with that?
Yeah.
Fantastic. 5 minutes. We'll come back to Jacob Sweeting for his report. So we will be back at 7:23.
7:33.
Sorry, 7:33. 34. No, sorry.
Thank you.
What
This copy.
time did we say we were doing?
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
We're ready
Sir.
for your presentation.
No, I think we have 2 minutes.
Something that indicated you may be a household that does good Halloween decorations.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Is this right?
That's right. We do an annual haunted house.
I wasn't sure. I was reading an article, I think, in the Reporter, and it made mention of like a fundraiser or something that was going on with it, and it said
December 30th,
Sweeting. And I was
pre-file
like,
January
I bet.
Yeah, that's my family and I have been doing it.
to community safety.
So we do a haunted house at our house.
Oh, yes.
And you open it up to everybody or just?
Yeah. So this year we actually had, I think 4 different days we did it. We had different events.
Like
It's a lot of
different teams or
pages.
different?
Yeah,
No,
it's
just
a lot
like
of
we had
pages.
a
63
VIP
pages.
that we could donate to the Humane Society that got you in.
I stopped after
We had another one for coworkers, clients, and another event just for family and friends, and then Halloween.
by increasing so they're wanting us to.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not trying to get myself invited.
Everybody's invited. We invite everyone. It's like.
I would donate, earn my spot.
It's nice to be low.
But my husband and I, we go nuts with Halloween, so we'll definitely earn her.
All right, back to order, please. Thank you very much. So we are going to continue on in the public works space with the design and construction standards update from Jacob Sweeting.
Great, thank you. For the record, Jacob Sweeting, Assistant Director of Public Works and City Engineer. And tonight we'll be talking about revision to the engineering, design, and construction standards. So Auburn City Code Chapter 1204 establishes that all public works contracts and work in the public right-of-way will be done per the engineering, design, and construction standards. So those public works contracts include all of those projects that you just heard about from our public works team that manages those capital projects. So those are streets projects, those are utilities projects, and then also any work in the right-of-way. And that's not just work in the right-of-way by city forces or city contractors, but also work in the right-of-way done by private utilities and other public utilities. The code indicates that the design standards are developed and adopted by the city engineer, and then there will be consultation with the city council in regards to city policy issues or broad issues that have broad citywide implications. So here I am. The design and construction standards are actually referred to many different ways. We often just call them the design standards. They're abbreviated as being the EDS or the EDCS, but they consist of many different parts. The main part is the design standards manual itself. So it's a manual that has 10 different chapters. The chapters range from content of having instructions on how to put together plans and reports. It talks about how to, or the requirements for grading activities within the city of Auburn. Also has all the different requirements for city utilities and then also non-city utilities in the right-of-way. And it has street requirements. And then it also has some procedures to follow if you need to seek a deviation from the standards themselves. The second part of the design standards include the Surface Water Management Manual. So this are the requirements for how we manage the stormwater runoff in the city of Auburn. We've adopted the Department of Ecology SWIM manual, Surface Water Management Manual, and then we also developed our own supplement to that manual that has specific requirements for the city of Auburn related to stormwater management. There are also the Auburn standard details and general special provisions. When I talk about these, I like to say that these are the instructions for how to build things and the diagrams and the pieces, the building blocks of how we build everything out in the public right-of-way and how we build our utility infrastructure. We have our own customized set of standards, and then we also have the general Washington State Department of Transportation standards and specifications that are also brought in by reference to our standards. So many different pieces to the engineering design standards. So a little background on why we are revising the standards. So once again, we seem to be doing it about once a year now. It used to be that we didn't update them maybe once every 3 to 5 years. In the last 5 years, there's been a lot of new legislation, new bills are being passed, and so things are rapidly changing, and we are trying to keep up with it. So our current standards were published last February. Some of the main focus of tonight, the changes that we have in the standards relate to House Bill 1110. If you recall, House Bill 1110 is the missing middle housing bill that has regulations and requirements to help promote more middle housing and affordable housing. The standards are also being updated to reflect the update to the recently adopted 2024 Comprehensive Transportation Plan. Specifically, that plan addressed House Bill 1181, which requires agencies to include multimodal and environmentally friendly supporting elements in their transportation and their general comprehensive plans. So we have some standards that need to be updated to address those. We also are updating the construction standards to align with the 2025 Washington State Department of Transportation standard specifications. They now are updating those every year. It used to be every other year, so that causes us to come back and align with those. And then currently, our Surface Water Management Manual points to the 2019 Department of Ecology Stormwater Manual, and now there's a 2024 manual, so our standards are being updated to align with that new ecology manual. So I'm going to talk about some of the changes related to House Bill 1110, the middle housing bill. So as a reminder, the middle housing code updates and standards updates are all intended to help promote affordable housing options. Those options include housing such as accessory dwelling units, duplexes, triplexes, quadplexes, cottage housing. So one of the requirements of House Bill 1110, the new legislation, was that agencies cannot have design standards that put more strict requirements on middle housing than it does for single-family housing, which seems harmless, but there are some things that need to be looked at with that. We historically and currently in our standards have many different exceptions and exemptions that are focused on single housing family only. So if you're going to build just a single family house on an existing lot, a lot of our standards you can see pretty easily seek an exemption to those standards. Well, applying those standards to quadplex, duplex, triplex, some of these middle housing options may not be appropriate in some circumstances, so we had to go back through the standards and look at all those exemptions to see where some changes need to be made. That is, are they going to be appropriate for both single-family housing and the middle housing options, so we're not more stringent on those middle housing projects. An example, one of the first changes that we made relates to alleys. A lot of the infill development or the middle housing that we see, specifically ADUs or accessory dwelling units, have been proposed on our existing alleys. Currently, one of our standards says if you are developing a project on an alley and you're taking access to the alley and the alley is not paved, you need to pave the alley out to the roadway connection. There's an exemption that says if you are a single-family house project, only building one house, you only pave the area right in front of your house. So we went back and looked at and said, okay, would that be appropriate if you're building duplex or triplex and quadplex? And we decided to make some adjustments to that standard. So instead of referring to a single family house for the exemption, we instead say, well, how many vehicle trips are you going to be producing with your project? And we came up with an upper limit of 20 vehicles per day. So generally speaking, a single family house produces about 9 to 10 vehicles per day. You add an ADU, an accessory dwelling unit to that house, you're going to have about 15. Two accessory dwelling units, you're at about 20. So the limit for where we went on the standards says, okay, instead of a single family house, the limit is if you produce more than 20 vehicle trips, which would be something like a house and 2 ADUs, then you're going to trigger that requirement to do the full paving, and you won't have that exception. We also recognizing that a lot of our alleys throughout the city were built to previous standards. A lot of them are narrow. Some are as narrow as 12 feet. Many of them are 16 feet. Our current standard is 20 feet, and that's for two-way traffic and also pedestrians and also a lot of the utilities that are there. We recognize that with a lot of the infill development that's happening, it's going to be putting more vehicles on those alleys, so we wanted to have an upper limit of how much we're comfortable with. How many vehicles we're comfortable in alleys serving. That we came up with 600 vehicles a day as an upper limit, just to give you a comparison to a local street. So the alley here is in the middle, and the local street to the left. So local street generally serves about twice as much, about 1,200 ADT. And then in our standards, once again, we came across another exemption or exception. Right now, all of our streets have an upper limit ADT that says, hey, if you're producing if you have a project, you're going to build a commercial strip mall, and you end up putting vehicle traffic on the street that exceeds the upper limit, then you have to mitigate that somehow. You have to have you'd have to go for a deviation, or you modify your development. Or extend the street system. There was an exception for single-family homes on an existing lot. And once again, we had to look to see if that was appropriate. We didn't come up with an appropriate exemption that could be applied equally to both the single-family homes and the middle housing, so that exception for those upper ADT limits, where if you're building a single-family home, you're exceeding those volumes, that was removed. There is the deviation route. The deviation route would still potentially allow development of the project, but like I said before, it may involve additional conditions or some mitigation to address that additional traffic volumes. More changes related to House Bill 1110. We had to, it seems odd, but we had to clarify what the definition of a parcel is. A parcel is referred to all over the place in our standards. But you may have heard of something called the unit lot subdivisions, which are coming. It's a form of middle housing where you have an existing parcel and then you pretty much subdivide it into smaller pieces to allow cottage housing or different dwelling units to be created on that parcel, parent parcel now it's called. That was important that we clarified that because a lot of our standards point to an existing parcel or how many parcels you can have along a roadway. Or in this case, you see a picture of what are called shared access tracks. These are shared driveways. On the top, you have a newer version of what it looks like in a newer subdivision. On the bottom, you see an older version where you think of it just a shared driveway. Many homes all being served by a shared driveway. So one of the standards that we have currently is that there can be 6 parcels served by a shared access tract at the most. And in looking at this will probably be another likely area where we see infill development potential or some of those middle housing opportunities. And so we looked at those standards and made some changes. Specifically to the 6 parcels, and once again, instead of going with limiting to just 6 parcels, we still limit to 6 parcels, but keep in mind now that it could be 6 parcels. Each one of those parcels has a home, and each parcel might start putting middle housing on it as up to 2 ADUs, I believe, accessory dwelling units, or there could be duplexes, triplexes. So we introduced also, again, that traffic volume limit, this traffic volume limit being up to 120 ADT, which is 120 vehicles per day. What that looks like would be something like the 6 homes, plus potentially maybe another 12 dwelling units. So maybe 2 of the accessory dwelling units on each one of those 6 parcels is something what that might look like. So different options there. Along with that middle housing accommodation, we also changed the standard for what those shared access driveways actually look like. Currently in the standards, if you have 2 or less dwelling units on those shared access tracts, then there are no sidewalks required. Once you have 2 or more, like you can see on the top picture, there is a sidewalk required on one side, but in no case would we ever require sidewalks on both sides. That's changed now in our new standards that we are publishing. in thinking forward about the possibility of the additional dwelling units being constructed on these access tracts. First of all, we're gonna increase the required access tract width when they're established to 31 feet. Currently, it's 22 feet, and that extra width is to accommodate new driveways and sidewalks on both sides of the access tract to accommodate the potential expansion of the ADUs and middle housing that could be built along them. The sidewalks themselves would be required on any side of the access tract from which access is taken. So if there's one home on the access tract, whatever side it is, whatever side that home is on, then that side is going to require sidewalks. If there's a home on both sides, then both sides will require the sidewalks. Again, though, the easement width itself will be wide enough to accommodate sidewalks on both sides for future potential development along the access tract. The design standards themselves also include exceptions to many of the design requirements we have for the shared access tracts. These are things like grades, and geometry, and curves. If we went back and we looked at this picture, that the shared driveway on the bottom is an older access driveway, and it would be very difficult to meet some of the current standards we have on the area of that access tract. A lot of times the requirements, the standards we have today wouldn't fit within the property rights available to these homes, wouldn't fit within the existing easement, wouldn't fit with the topography or other constraints. So we have an exception currently in the standards for developing an existing lot with a single-family home. Again, we have to look at that to see if that's something that we can continue with the middle housing. We felt that we can continue that, except for that would apply to existing unit lots or existing parcels. If we have a situation where someone's creating a new lot or a new subdivision, then they would need to comply with the new standards for the access tract. So the next big set of changes were related to updating the design standards to match the 2024 Comprehensive Transportation Plan. Most of these theme up on bicycle facilities, some of them on pedestrian facilities. The big one is an expansion of the frontage improvements triggered by development. Right now, the half street improvements already include building out the half street along the property to have sidewalks and streetlights and the storm drainage and the road. There are bike facilities that were identified in the recently adopted comprehensive plan that include more robust facilities than maybe were there before. So those frontage improvements now would include things like the separated trail or a bike lane where those are identified in the comprehensive plan, which isn't everywhere. It's wherever we have our bike network path, which is a limited network throughout the city. We also updated our standards for bike facilities. We introduced concepts like the buffered bike lanes, which you see a picture here. We've built some of these in the city, but don't really have a standard currently on the books for what they should look like. So we've developed that standard, and this is an example of what it could look like, which is similar to what we have today on at least one or two city streets, except for we also introduced these delineators, some other object there to indicate there's a separation between the roadway and the bicyclist. Then finally, we also updated our roadway cross sections. Our roadway cross sections are in the design standards, and for each one of our street classifications, we have a cross section that shows if you're building a new road or if you're doing the half street improvements as a project, this is what the improvements, this is what the road should look like. The street classifications themselves were updated in the comprehensive plan, so those again were updated in the design standards. One of the themes to point out in the new typical cross sections is that on arterial streets, the curb lanes were previously 14 feet wide. We've reduced that down to 12 feet wide, except for on truck routes or on curved roadways where we need to accommodate the wider radius of the wheel paths. And then on local industrial streets, the lane widths were reduced from 17 feet to 14 feet, so that's a huge reduction. The main purpose there is to provide enough, still provide enough roadway width for the vehicles to be able to traverse the roadway, but also to encourage slower speeds. We found that wider lane widths, while they give you some safety cushion, they also have an offsetting effect because it makes you feel a little more comfortable going at a faster speed. So narrowing the lane widths encourage slower speeds. One other final notable change, we updated the minor grading permit criteria. So it doesn't seem like a big deal, but it is to anyone who comes in and applies for a grading permit. Grading permits are costly because they take a lot of time to review. A minor grading permit is an option that is about half the price. It's under $2,000 for that application fee compared to $3,000 to up to $10,000 for a normal grading permit. You also don't always have to hire a surveyor or an engineer to do a minor grading permit, so we loosened the requirements for minor grading permits to encourage compliance with the grading permit code and also to make it easier for people to come in and get those permits. They originally used to only apply to residential properties. We've expanded that to apply to commercial and industrial properties. So for instance, if a business needs to repave its parking lot, historically that may have triggered a grading permit. Now they can qualify for a minor grading permit, save some money, get through the process more quickly, and get the work done in a more efficient manner. So we plan on publishing this next month, actually here in the next couple weeks. And I guess with that, if there's any questions, take them.
Council, any questions for Jacob? Councilmember Taylor.
Thank you. I just have one question about the previous slide. What data, if you can recall off that, did you use to come up with those numbers for the reduction from 14 to 12, 17 to 14? Because it seems kind of like if you reduce the width that there may, I don't know, be a likelihood of more accidents, I don't know, maybe, because people do drive a little reckless around here. Not saying myself, but I'm just saying people do drive a little reckless. But I don't know, so how did you determine that based on
Sure. Auburn's probably really late to the game of doing these changes, so there's national data all over the place, and many agencies all over the Puget Sound have been doing this, have been reducing their lane widths. So I can't point to specifically the data set, but I can tell you that we go to trainings, we are on different committees, and we hear over and over again that this is an approach. Most recently, if you recall, we prepared the Comprehensive Safety Action Plan, and that action plan include many safety countermeasures, measures that are intended to help improve safety. And at least once or twice in the Comprehensive Safety Action Plan, a countermeasure that is identified is lane reduction width. And that is based on Federal Highway Administration guidance, state DOT guidance. And so we pulled from that toolbox, and this is one of the things that we brought. Some agencies have gone more extreme, down to 10.5 feet, 10 feet. 12 feet for arterial roads that still do have higher volumes, and 35 miles per hour posted we feel is a reasonable speed that encourages compliance with the speed limit, but still gives you some cushion.
Thank you. Okay.
Councilmember Troutman-Well.
On the same page, I'm glad you brought that up. On the curves for the trucks, like some have been trying to turn in these smaller, streets. Are we going to do like we did on Main Street, put signs so trucks, certain size of trucks are allowed to come to us through these streets, or because you're reducing the size of them, so how are we going to manage those size of trucks going into those streets?
Sure. So the truck routes will be designed to handle those trucks.
Okay.
So the curves we're talking about are not like turning on Main Street to Division. Those are corner tight turns that are currently, these are not designed to handle the semis that sometimes come through downtown, and per code are not allowed to come through downtown, and per the signage shouldn't be doing it, but it still happens. So we see things happen like trucks getting hung up on traffic signal poles.
Okay, yeah.
This standard talks to our truck routes where we want the trucks going and we want them
Okay.
to be able to traverse the roadways. So where we have those situations, we still will have the wider lanes to accommodate those trucks. And then on the curves, we will also make sure that they can traverse those curves while staying in their lane.
Okay, thank you for clearing that up.
Council questions? Councilmember Baldwin.
Yeah, with on the slide where we're talking about the parcels, and as you were saying, the shared driveway access will have new standards related to the middle housing bill. I know, at least up in the neighborhood that I live in, there was a lot of former unincorporated King County that had been annexed in, and so seeing kind of that shared driveway, older driveway situation is fairly common in those parts. So just to make sure I heard with the exception basis, if the parcels were to be sort of reconfigured to allow for additional dwelling units, that would trigger the requirements for the newer driveway standards. But if the parcels are staying the same and people just need to repave, they could seek exception. Is that correct?
Mostly.
Mostly, okay.
In the first circumstance, yes, a subdivision, which I take it is what you mean by rearranging the parcels.
Yes.
A subdivision would require the standards to be met.
Okay.
Because a subdivision usually implies that you are changing property rights, and property rights means establish the easement to build the standard.
Okay.
In the other situation where you're not reconfiguring the parcels, it depends. It depends on how much traffic volume is there by the current number of dwelling units there. So if you are staying below the 120 cars per day, vehicles per day, then more than likely what you could do, more likely you could fall into some of the exceptions. If you're more, then you're gonna have to seek a deviation.
Warn people about their Amazon deliveries. Make sure they don't trigger anything.
Yeah,
I'm teasing.
People can do the studies themselves, but it's usually just, you count the lots and you have a manual that tells you how many trips a typical lot generates.
I appreciate the sincere response. I was joking on that last part. But no, I think that answers the question. Thank you.
Councilmember, any more questions for Jacob? Councilmember Troutman.
I just have one more. You know, you were talking about the alleys. We have some older homes around from 21 to 29. We've got some older homes there. And does city go and look at some of those alleys to see how they're maintained? The reason why I'm bringing this up is because I happened to go, I had a constituent want me to go and look at their alley because of so many vehicles blocking driveways. And I myself got stuck there and I had to drive all the way backwards to get out of there. And I was just wondering if we look at those areas, the alleys, every once in a while, or is that up to the homeowners to do?
So alleys are generally public right-of-way. There also are private alleys in the city, which would be up to the homeowners to work with their HOA to deal with parking situations. If you're talking about parking in the alleys, that is illegal parking, then I would encourage a call to parking enforcement to report it so they can try to address the situation.
Thank you. You answered my question.
Anybody else? Jacob, thank you for your presentation tonight.
Thank you.
Okay, now, is that yours?
It's fine.
Okay. I will hand it back over to Deputy Mayor Ranks.
Thank you, Councilmember Tracy Taylor. The first item on the agenda for council discussion is ordinance number 6971 provided by our city attorney, Jason Whalen.
Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, council members. Once in a while, they let me come out of my office to join you, so I appreciate the opportunity tonight. This is a fairly straightforward request to update and amend section 125.030 of Auburn City Code, which relates to fines. And what it effectively allows is discretion for the city to provide greater than 15 days within which to make changes or corrections to one's behavior that resulted in the issuance of the notice of infraction. So that is what we're trying to do, because if one, for instance, doesn't have or couldn't, by way of process and procedure, complete the activity within 15 days, we don't want the code to be legally infirm if it were to be challenged by someone who's trying to do the right thing by making the change as requested by the notice to correct. So that is the essence of what we're trying to do. It is the civil penalties section of your code, 125.030, and it will just give us more discretion to be a little bit more business and resident friendly to make sure that we give enough time to correct the behavior.
Any questions, council?
Very good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, council, I need to say I made a mistake and I'm passing it back over to Councilmember Tracy Taylor. She has one more item on her.
We didn't want to make him wait, but we will. No, just kidding. We're going to talk about Resolution 5806. And just a moment
Yes,
here.
and we've got Josh Arns from legal and Tim Manzanides from our airport to talk to you about this.
You're not gonna drive the computer?
Why not?
Fly the computer?
Good evening, council. Josh Arndt, real estate manager here for the city of Auburn. And this good-looking gentleman to my left is Tim Manzanides, our airport manager. And Tim and I have a very, very short 60-minute presentation for y'all. So
60 minutes.
joke's on you.
Love it. Thank you.
I kid. So the last time Tim and I were here in front of y'all and speaking, we were talking to you about a resolution that we were bringing forward with regards to some airport lease amendments that were pertaining to a fair market value adjustment that was done and through the process of an appraisal and so on and so forth. While I'm talking, I'm going to hand out I'm going to pass around a handout that I'll actually provide a visual for you to follow when Tim does his part of the presentation. So, as I said, I believe it was back in September when Tim and I were talking to you about that. And then on October 7th of 2024, Council passed Resolution 5785, granting the mayor the authority to execute those lease amendments that were part of that discussion. And just as a quick reminder, those lease amendments allowed for a step increase over a 3-year period. And included in that, there were 2 lease amendments, Cascade Helicopter, and they're going to be the focus of our discussion tonight, as well as one other tenant that was receiving a rate discount already in exchange for some repairs and maintenance that those tenants were accounting for as part of their lease. All of the tenants, with the exception of Cascade, signed those amendments. Cascade did not. They came back to us and said, well, hold on a second. We actually think that we provide some additional services and benefits to the city and the airport that are not reflected in this. And so we want to discuss this a little bit more and see if we can't come to an agreement, something that works for both parties. And so we primarily, Tim and the management with Cascade Helicopter, sat down to discuss what those services and benefits looked like that they were providing that none of the other tenants were. But more importantly, maybe since we were opening this door, what are some of the other things that we could look at that would be a benefit to the airport that weren't already being done? And then could we provide maybe a little bit more of a discount on account of those things? And so with that, I want to turn it over to Tim and let him kind of talk about what those discussions look like. And then I'll finish it up in bada bing, bada boom, 60 minutes, done.
So Josh already alluded to the two leases, one being Cascade. One, we have two leases on the airport that historically or for the life of their lease have received a reduction for maintaining their pavement. They maintain the pavement. The airport doesn't have to go in and spend significant capital to maintain that pavement. So they've received a 35% reduction. Well, Cascade lease, after Josh went through their paperwork, as we couldn't find where it had traditionally. So we brought this as part of our negotiations with them. Let's memorialize this, something that we've always practiced, but we can't find anywhere that explains it, and put that in there. So you'll see the 35% off the top. That's already been done. That's always been practiced. We're just putting it into writing. So when we're gone, people will make sense of why we're doing this. The other items we really hammered out, and it was a back and forth for the benefit of the airport. So and we broke it down in percentages. I put these in there as kind of what we felt the weighted value of the importance to the airport were. So there's a 1% reduction for support of airport days. If any of you, and most of you have been to airport days, and it's been a maturing event without that grass. So Cascade has that grass parcel where the food trucks are, and it's really the only grass on the south end of the airport where people could get respite off of the pavement. So that as part of this, they have agreed to continue to support that with offering their parcel and provide power for the bouncy house and other venues. 2% for supporting airport emergencies. So being able, if we have an aircraft incident, they have a forklift. They have airframe and power plant mechanics that can come out and move an aircraft without creating more damage. So having them on call and ready to go. Another 2% for providing Jet A service. It's become increasingly difficult for them just for storage and to provide it, but they're still willing to provide it for outside customers. So it opened to have Jet A on your field is important. It's been discussions Ingrid and I have worked on for years with the airport board, and getting there and offering it to transient aircraft that fly in and can get is important. And so they're committed to still doing that, even it may be at a loss to them. And then 1% for supporting air medical. So Airlift Northwest, the helicopter, flies in and lands on their ramp. And if we have gate issues, power outage, Cascade has their own gate and has had to come in after hours and support them, and then they're operating on their lease property. They actually really helped the airport out in stepping forward and willing to do this. We were doing it in another area and it was not ideal. It was at the middle of the ramp and was creating problems. So them being isolated, they already have helicopters, just makes sense. The ambulance goes straight to there and it works, and they're willing to continue to support to do that. And then the last thing, I think this is the thing we're excited about the most is 4% is a courtesy car. And I know I've spoken to most of you. I think Kate and Tracy, Ingrid and I have been working on this for over 3 years. I was counting back the number of interns that we've had special projects to try and get this, but it's a courtesy car. So they're willing to step forward, provide a courtesy car. I've been working with legal and HR and providing a policy that we give to tenants. And I'll quickly recap what a courtesy car is. You fly in, you're a transient aircraft out of town, and you come in and do business in our city. And you borrow the car at no cost. You typically leave it back with fuel, and it's just something that a pilot. It's pretty typical to most airports where they come in and provide that, and they're willing to do this. So we're very excited about. We're excited about where we're at with the agreement, and that led us to a total of a 45% discount. I'll add that I think Josh has some additional here. The additional revenue that Cascade will be adding to the airport this year exceeds what we budgeted, even with that, and we're excited about what we came to and the services they are offering for us.
Almost. I had 60 minutes. Okay. All right, so thank you, Tim. So next at next Monday's regular council meeting, we will be bringing forward Resolution 5806, which is the documents that will reflect what we've discussed. And so as Tim mentioned, the total lease rate reduction from the fair market value for this lease will, in this lease alone, will be 45%. So that is 10% greater than the other land lease tenant, which currently is receiving the 35% rate discount. One important thing to note on the table that you'll see, and you'll see down at the bottom, we put in a mechanism where, so we do this, we execute this amendment. We're not just executing and walking away on the good faith that, well, you're gonna do the things that you're gonna do and we're gonna continue to give you this rate. That's not how this is gonna work. We've added in, or we will be adding in an auditing mechanism that really is at our discretion so that we can look at every 5 years, coincides with our fair market value adjustment that says, yep, you've been doing these things, so you will continue to receive this percentage of a discount off of your regular rate. Or, heaven forbid, it's, you know what, I'm sorry, but you haven't been living up to your end of the bargain, so we're gonna take this one off, right? So this part of it that has the percentage, that's really kind of a living, breathing document that will be looked at you know, at a minimum every 5 years. Another change from this particular amendment as opposed to the last ones that were discussed previously, where the other ones had a step increase over a 3-year period, this one is only a 2-year period. And as Tim stated, this will add an additional, just in year one, this will add an additional $18,000 to the budget. One of the things I was looking at this afternoon before we came in here was, you know, we're sitting up here talking to you all about an increased reduction in the rate. However, even with this increased discount, this tenant will have a higher monthly adjustment than any other land tenants combined, regardless of whether that there's a lease rate discount or not, right? And so what I mean by that is just in year one, this tenant will have a monthly rent increase of about, well, $1,500, right? 1,500 times 12 is 18,000. Whereas some of the other tenants, they are you know, anywhere from a couple $100 to $800, something like that. I think another thing that's important to note that I had on my talking points here that I actually think that works well with tonight's earlier discussion with economic development. So most of the other land tenants, they're condo hangars, meaning, you know, there's a bunch of hangars, each individual, generally a hobby flyer or something like that. They own the unit and they fly in and out. Okay. Cascade Helicopter is a true legit business. They're a business that is solely located on our airport. And so a couple of key metrics that economic development in the city is going to look at. Where'd it go? Cascade Helicopter currently, they currently employ 20 employees at their location out at the Auburn airport. Those 20 employees have an average salary of $85,000 a year. So when we want to talk about a good number of actual jobs and the living wage that's earned by those employees, those are some good numbers, right? So, you know, one of the things to keep in mind, and certainly Tim and I were talking about when we were having these discussions with Cascade Helicopter. So while we were not willing to say whatever you want, you get, it was something that was, you know, certainly top of mind because we felt that it was important to keep that business here in Auburn. And then the last thing, and this just kind of goes in along with, they are a business. with any business, businesses are, they're expensive to operate, right? And so businesses they like certainty, they don't like uncertainty. And so one of the things that we changed that's a little bit different from the other leases is the additional rent increases that are not tied to the fair market value. All of our other leases, they're tied to the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, okay? We don't know what that's going to be in the coming years. That's very hard for a business to plan and budget for. So with this one, we said, okay, you know what? Let's remove the Consumer Price Index and let's just make it a straight 3%, right? So a couple other small changes, really non-consequential. They're just more tying up things. But the stuff this stuff is really the business points that I think are worth noting. So that.
First off, you guys, this is super exciting for the airport if this continues. A courtesy car, for as long as I can remember, has been something that needed to happen. So again, thank you for the work on this. Council, do we have any questions? Councilmember Ammer?
So first, I want to make sure that I heard that correct. They will have courtesy car for the people who come in to use the airport. That's amazing. I have my coworker who will go for dinner. He's a pilot. He told me the reason he wasn't being able to come here because he doesn't have a car or we don't have a restaurant, then he didn't get the stamp to get the badge.
Oh,
So this is amazing.
okay.
That will bring more pilot here to Auburn. Second, I'm so happy that they maintain the fuel.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
Councilmember Baldwin?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you guys for working with Cascade to put this plan together. I feel like, as you're presenting it, because 45% is a high number for a discount, that there's a need to go through and explain all the different ways that they are working with us in partnership to support the airport and to support aviation within the city. But the big ones that stand out to me, of course, the jet fuel, of course, the vehicle, but emergency medical air operations, that's huge for residents within the community to be able to have that if you need to get somewhere fast and quickly. That's the type of support that I think people want to know is in their neighborhood. And like everybody else, I am excited for the courtesy vehicle. I would, of course, encourage it to be something coming out of Detroit with a good engine, something that's, but not a manual. Make sure everybody can use it. No, it should be fun, and maybe you can work with economic development to throw a couple of branding logos on it or something. But I'm excited. Thank you.
So one quick note, I will note if you Curtis
You get to
Cascade,
pick.
exactly. We gave the approval to
Council, any more questions?
I just
Councilmember
want to
Troutman.
echo what everybody is saying. It's exciting to see you guys take the time to really look at it very carefully and give that extra leeway for them to stay here. Because 20 employees, that's
With good
that's
jobs.
a good business, so thank you. Thank you for really looking at all that and keeping them here.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Sorry we skipped you. Made you wait. And I think we're finishing up with Resolution 5810 from Director Crum.
That's me.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. The next item on the agenda discussion is Resolution 5810 provided by Director Crowe.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you, council members and Mayor. Appreciate your patience tonight with all of our items. We hope to make up a little bit of time by providing a quick briefing on a resolution that is scheduled to come before council next week. So that is Resolution 5810, and that would authorize disbursement of lodging tax funds as recommended by the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee. And LTAC has recommended the approval of a $150,000 contract to the Auburn Area Chamber for the continuation of marketing and tourism services that you heard plenty about this evening.
And then Jen Francis, for the record, the LTAC unanimously approved the grant fund recommendation at their recent public meeting held on January 15th this month. Also at that meeting, the 2024 revenue summary was reviewed and discussed. The 2024 total lodging tax revenue was approximately $200,000. Approximate 2024 budget spent was $230,000. And the current 2025 reserve sits at about $480,000 with $180,000 budgeted for spending for 2025. So LTAC is also discussing a desire to potentially tap into some of those existing reserves and consider a proposed budget amendment for the increased grant awards for 2025.
And we do anticipate coming back to City Council probably one or two more times this year with some additional grant fund recommendations from LTAC. And that is all.
Councilmember Clinton Taylor.
Thank you. So I didn't understand any of that just then.
Okay.
So if you could break that down a little bit.
Sure.
So you can break that down a little bit for me. Thank you.
There's a lodging tax advisory committee.
Got it.
That makes recommendations on how our lodging tax dollars are spent.
Okay.
So we talked a little bit about that earlier tonight. There's a 1% tax, lodging tax that the city collects revenue on. LTAC makes recommendations to City Council about how to spend those funds.
Got it.
There's a resolution coming next Monday, which includes one of those recommendations, which is to spend $150,000 of those tax funds, of which there's a reserve of about $480,000 for marketing and tourism.
Okay, got it. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, got it. Thank you. That's what I thought. Okay.
Any other questions, Councilmember Baldwin?
Yeah, so what I was looking for was a little bit more context for how our grant cycle works for that, mainly because when we do like our CDBG grants, it seems very formal. You know, we have the annual phases and planning and budgeting and all the things that go with it. And I think LTAC is just maybe a little bit smaller, and so we don't see it pop up quite the same way. But I think I was on our one of our sites earlier, and I saw reference to the grants as well. So with having more potential funding coming available, how will that work for people who are interested in applying for grants?
So the grant, I mean, the good news is City Council will hear more about that. As far as we'll be bringing forward more of those grant application recommendations from LTAC.
How does LTAC receive the applications?
There's a grant application that we've been working with the legal department on this year to kind of refine and revise what that application requests. And so that has been finalized now with this most recent application. And so those grant applications are going to be open to the public. We are actively contacting some of those events and other organizations that have applied for such grants in the past to make sure they're aware of that process. And it'll be an ongoing grant application opportunity. And the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee will meet more regularly to review and discuss and make recommendations on those going forward.
Councilmember Trout Manuel.
On the same line, when do you start putting out those open applications so everyone can have a chance to fill it up on time?
Are you advertising the request for proposals?
We will be publishing those, and I don't know the exact cadence of that, but we're going to work with the legal department. City Attorney Wayland may have something to add.
If I may, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Council members, in answer to your question, we assisted community development in revamping the process to be consistent with state law. And your code for lodging tax requires at least an annual meeting. So because we're in the process of helping to revamp to be more consistent with state law, we had this initial application with the chamber because that we knew historically had been the largest applicant. But knowing that there were other sub-applicants that the chamber had historically funded, and we wanted the lodging tax committee to actually go through the process of funding, we knew that in 2025 we would have to do at least another call for applications. So working with Ms. Francis and Mr. Crum, we're going to make sure that there is an advertised opportunity for those who would like to avail themselves of the opportunity to apply, will be able to do it. And so working with the mayor's schedule because she chairs the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee, we will likely have at least one more, if not two more, recommended meetings for lodging tax to review, analyze, and then make recommendations on those applications later this year. To make sure this year everyone has a full and fair opportunity. In the next year, the way our process is somewhat designed is we really are hoping to get on a one-year cycle so that the call for applications and the advertisement goes out well in advance, so there could be one lodging tax meeting in, say, September, October-ish of 2025, so that those recommendations can be culled and made to council so you can make the recommendation toward the end of 2025 to commence the grants in 2026.
It would just be nice so that we are sure that we're equitable, that people have the chance to put their application in there and already make decisions on who's going to get it. Thank you.
Councilmember Grant.
Reviewing the presentation at the beginning, I almost said in the morning, and seeing the plan being done, I feel like it's well organized to see where is the funding will go, what will be used. So I appreciate the package you give it to us. So thank you.
Any other questions, council?
None this time.
Thank you. With there being no more items on tonight's agenda with no further discussion,